Welcome to the iconic Spa-Francorchamps here in the Ardennes. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the place to race, Simsport Racing, here live for this evening. And welcome back for the second round of the Simsport Racing ACC Driver Swap GT3 season. Alex Goldschmidt and Steve Proudley back with you once again. Good evening, Steve. Well, it has been a short respite since this past Wednesday, hasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Good evening, Alex, and good evening to everyone watching the stream with us tonight. Fantastic racing last Wednesday on the GT4s, and like you say, a very short break for us now, and straight back into the driver swaps. And tonight we're at Spa, another fantastically historic and very fast track.
Yes, just over 7 kilometres in length, 4.352 miles in total, and we have another bumper grid. But also, it's looking to be a fantastic halfway point of the season. And here are the standings at the moment. So Coach Dave Academy's Joe McCauley and James Parker took the victory last time out 2 weeks ago at Suzuka with Charlie Crossland, and the man of the evening last time out, Fabien Piffet, with that fantastic overtake on Ivan Shermatinsky, securing Team Fordzilla second place ahead of Shermatinsky, and also William Hendrickson, who round out the top three. Aaron Martin Pilkington and Matt Kennedy in the 626 are fourth, ahead of Harry Spears and John Burrows, who took pole position, with Piffet taking the fastest lap by 3/1000ths of a second. And it's the duo of the dynamic duo of Stephen Haley and Aaron Walker in sixth, ahead of Dean Riley and Rich Smith. Chris Pinchbeck and Regan Mitchell round out the top 8, ahead of John Monroe and Ross McGregor. Dean Allen and Darren Upton round out the top 10. You can see the remainder of the top 20 who have all scored points last time out at Suzuka. So let's have a look at the standings after just the first round. And it is, of course, the duo of Coach Dave Academy leading the way in the BMW M6 GT3 ahead of Team Fordzilla. As pairing of Piffet and Crossland. And then it's Griffax Engineering's Shermatinsky and Hendrickson, with Kennedy and Martin Pilkington from Total Performance Racing in the only Nissan in the field. Spears and Burrows, ahead of Haley and Walker. And then all the way down to 20th with Markada Racing's Adam Isolovic and Mark Neutelings looking to hopefully have a better time out. But good to see Denise Pope and Evan Natafas in the Lexus RCF GT3 from TRHC Wild Things rounding out the top 16 points. So, Steve, a very, very different proposition. Of course, new tyre models on the DLC upgrade for Corsa Competizione, but the BMW apparently is still looking rather quick around this fearsome circuit.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's just the car or it's the drivers, to be fair, because let's face it, Joe McCauley and James Parker are two very, very quick guys. Not only can they hot lap, but they can put those laps in consistently, as we saw at Suzuka. They just lap after lap after lap, relentlessly putting the lap times in. And they've got a certain amount of self-confidence as well that just brings them to the front, and fantastic performance from those guys last time out at Suzuka. In the conditions we had there, so I'm expecting hopefully some closer racing this evening. Just seen in the practice sessions that Tim Griffax in the Mercedes, they were in the 16s. I'm guessing that was hot lapping. It certainly doesn't look like race fuel pace. That looks more like qualifying pace. But yeah, getting the Mercedes into the 16s, and that's where the BMW was. So maybe we're going to see a good fight for pole. It was just seen on screen there that also Harry Spears is a 2:16.8 as well. A lot of guys in the 17s. So some very, very fast times around here. But the tyre model has affected a lot of the drivers. It sort of came as a bit of a shock to them, and they've sort of made it a little bit more real-worldy, if that's possible, with such a fantastic sim as ACC, in the respect that, from the start, even with tyre warmers on, the tyres will take a couple of laps to get into the operating window, so we might see one or two more incidents on the opening laps of the race. Hopefully not, but it is one of the downsides of making it more realistic.
Definitely, but also with the fact that Spa also has its own weather microclimate. I've experienced that firsthand when I've been travelling over on my European karting travels to Genk, which is about 90 kilometres north of the circuit, based in the Ardennes Forest. Good to see some regulars on our chats. Good evening to Jean Pinchbeck, cheering on Chris, as always. Also shouting for Regan as well. Good to see Aaron wishing us a very good evening. But also one of the biggest things that we have here, Steve, is that multiple drivers after round one were penalised for exceeding driver time behind the wheel, because it's a maximum of 80 minutes that any one driver can spend behind the wheel in one of these GT3 driver swap rounds.
Yeah, we did see a handful of teams getting disqualified at the end of the session because they'd exceeded that 80 minutes, as you say, and it was in some cases it was only by a minute calculation that basically on the last lap they went over that time. But unfortunately, the time limit is the rule. The rules are the rule. It does allow you, there is an overlap time. Obviously the race is 150 minutes, but there's 160 minutes, shall we say, of driving time allocated between them. So they've got a leeway in there. But I think because of the changing conditions with the weather and whatnot, and people wanting to make that jump to, shall we say, the drier tyres quicker, it sort of messed around with a few of their pre-planned tactics and sort of they just tripped up a little bit with it. And there was a couple of other incidents that caused them to trip up. But basically, yeah, they've got to really watch that. To be fair, it's on the dashboard. It counts down with whichever driver's in the car. There is a countdown timer relating to that particular driver's stint time left. So really, there's no real excuse for it to say that you know how much time you've got left. You're going to have to come in and you're going to have to swap. Because at the end of the day, if you're running out of time, obviously it stands to reason that it's your teammate that's got the time left, so you're going to have to hand the car over. Yeah,
that's very much a case of crossing the T's and dotting the I's here at Simsport Racing. We are firm, but we are fair when it comes to obviously the stewards making their decision. Obviously, during the commentary, myself and Steve, we will give our honest and upfront and frank opinions on it, but we do leave it to the chief steward and also the rest of the crew that do also look over any incidents that have been processed against by any of the competitors. Don't forget, you can find us on the World Wide Web at simsport-racing.com. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, We also, if you go onto our website, you'll be able to meet the team and find out who are the faces behind the names that you normally hear of. You'll see my mug down there at the bottom right, and there is the website with that fantastic Nissan GTR GT3, and then you can see, obviously, we also have a big thank you to Chris Bowman from our community. He's the one, coupled with doing our blogs, and he's also written up the first two from Monza and Suzuka, with more to come. And you can also see the links to our streams, embedded YouTube videos. A big thank you to Simply Race for also being able to provide us with such fantastic broadcasting, as always, and also Mike Yao, who is our broadcast director. You can also see a little logo about in the top right hand corner for our Discord server as well. We're also on Twitch too. So looks like things are about to get underway with you can even join us on our Facebook group. So how about that? Join the community, be a part of it, and if you want to get up to speed in Assetto Corsa Competizione, why not make it the place to race here at Simsport Racing? And Steve, it's great to see that the community is ever expanding. We've got so many people mentioning us on Twitter, Instagram. A lot of our drivers tonight will be streaming on Twitch, and that's what really makes the community, doesn't it? Very, very much involved, but also very, very nice of them to include us in their social media.
Yeah, absolutely. We get lots of the drivers now that have joined us. They are sort of running their own streaming communities and choosing to stream our races, which is great because it helps to sort of promote Simsport as a community. But just on the other side of the coin, if anyone wants to join and just get involved for the community side, and they maybe don't feel ready to race in the leagues, but they want to get to know more about what we do and how they can join in. I mean, I have to say, I go on Discord most evenings at some point, but every single evening, if you join our Discord, you will find drivers in the general chat, and they are such a friendly bunch. You get a bit of banter, you get a bit of stick given out, but anybody new that comes in, they give you a couple of hours to settle in, and then they'll, before they start giving you banter. But there's somebody on there every single night, so you can come in and it's a real community club, as it were, and there's people to talk to, there's people to help you, and people to help bring your driving forward to the point that you will want to take part in our leagues, and you may find yourself on the podium one day.
Indeed, looks like things are getting underway for qualifying here for the second round of the ACC GT3 Driver Swap season here on Simsport Racing. As the drivers now make their way out onto the circuit, it's a 20-minute qualification session with a whole host of manufacturers. It looks like we have 28 cars in the server at the moment, and Angus Martin cheering on Stijn Passpont this very evening. So before we go to qualifying, let's have a hot lap around here, around the 7.004 kilometre circuit, simply known as Spa-Francorchamps. Spa-Francorchamps here in the Ardennes forests in Belgium. 7.004 kilometres as we go on board the Audi R8 here at the circuit. Down to first gear at 70 kilometres an hour from fourth down through La Source as we head down the hill towards Eau Rouge and Radillon. And the driver of the car will keep it pinned at fifth gear at full revs at around 245 kilometres an hour through both corners, heading onto the Camel Straight up to sixth. Pulling over 255 kilometres an hour as we head to Les Combes. Down onto the brakes we go. Down from sixth at 266 kph down to third at 120 through the right-left complex. Now a quick dip down into Malmedy. Third gear, 150 kilometres an hour before we head down the hill up to fourth gear, down quickly from fourth at 210, down to second at 100 through Bruxelles. Now into the left as we carry the momentum down the hill through turn 11, the left-hander, as we head to Pouhon, originally known as Double Gauche. You're accelerating up the gears up to fifth before you get on the brakes quickly, down to fourth, around 175 kph on the apex through the first part of it. Through the second part, you're accelerating, carrying the speed up now to fifth gear, 230 kph as we head down towards Les Fagnes, which will be a right, then into a left. Next up is the right-hander at Campus, down from fourth gear at 190 to third at 130, 125. We're heading through Stavelot, fourth gear, 190 kilometres an hour as you continue to accelerate through Courbe Paul Frère on the approach to Blanchimont. Continue to accelerate up through to 6th. As you go through Blanchimont at over 255 kilometers an hour before one chicane to go. The bus stop. Down from 6th at 262, down to 1st through the first part of it at 60 kph. Accelerating through, again a dab on the brakes. Accelerate out of the corner. The finish line will be crossed at 3rd gear 165 at a 2 minutes 16.6. So now it is time for qualifying for the second round of the ACC GT3 Driver Swap here at Spa-Francorchamps. And Steve, first of all, sunshine. Crikey. Yeah. That's one for the books, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, let's not get too excited. This is just qualifying. It could all change for race day, but hopefully not. You know, it'd be nice to see some optimum conditions for the guys to really get their racing hats on and provide us with some fantastic racing. Just Chris Pinchbeck in chats just said say hello to Mummy. Well, Alex, you did, but I will as well. Jean, good evening. Glad to have you on board for the stream tonight, and I hope Chris does you proud. But yeah, it's going to be good racing tonight. Spa is a lot of drivers' favourite track as well, isn't it? And a lot of people they do enjoy genuinely racing round here once they get past the fear of a Rouge.
Yeah, and also there's the run down the Kemmel Straight to Les Cornes, amongst other places, as Cody Pride definitely testing the limits of adhesion in the number 33 Ferrari 488 GT3. As Adam Isalovic in the 111 Honda NSX GT3, currently running in second as Will Hendrickson has set the pace in the number 81 Griffax Engineering Mercedes, and he's now making his way down into Eau Rouge. Let's see how hard he pushes, and that is full commitment from the number 81 Mercedes driver as he goes up through Radiant. There's Joe McCauley from Coach Dave Academy in the 888 BMW M6 GT3, heading towards the far part of the circuit. And the thing is that at the moment, well, we have the likes of John Monroe, who's running under the who's running in the Bentley with Ross McGregor, and they're in the 23 Simply Race Sancho Simsport. There's the car itself going through down into Eau Rouge. So a lot of drivers definitely looking a bit close on the times, but also at the minute Hendrickson has put in an absolute barnstormer. So is McCauley. They're within 6 1,000ths of each other after their first hot laps. Obviously, for those that saw the hot lap with the Audi R8 that we just showed, they are actually over a tenth and a half quicker than the hot lap that we showed just a minute ago. Then it's the number 66 of Charlie Crossland. There's Regan Mitchell in the number 43 Mercedes. And this is where it's going to get rather interesting, Steve, because just to be on the first verge of a flying lap, and Hendrickson and McCauley, there's nothing to put it between them.
No, in practice we saw them both going a little bit quicker than that still, so yeah, there's a little bit more to come, and as always, you know, the track's on optimum now. The temperatures are pretty good, 21 degrees track temperature at the moment, very little to no wind present, so the times are good, the conditions are good, but I think we may see another tenth or two shaved off those times, believe it or not, and I think we will have a very close qualifying. I think the majority of the field will be in the 17s, but I think they'll all be very close.
Yeah, so between Crossland and Isalovic, and that is from 3rd to 9th place, they are covered by just over 6/10 as John Clements in the 118 Aston Martin, currently running in P8 as Charlie Crossland briefly goes up to 3rd. Well, goes up to 3rd and is 8.5 tenths off of Hendrickson's blistering pace. The number 66 from Team Fordzilla puts in a 2 minutes 17.271, but then Clements responds and goes 3 1,000ths of a second quicker. You know how qualifying is really going to ramp up if the gaps are literally thousandths of a second between drivers around the circuit here, as Monroe now goes up into P5, and that is 42 thousandths slower than Charlie Crossland. And we know that the Bentley, or as we called it in Suzuka last time out, Steve, the Boatley, can really motor around here at Spa.
Yeah, I nearly said the Boatley. The Bentley is a fantastic car. It's I don't think it's always suited to qualifying in the respect that it takes a few laps to get it going, sort of thing. So maybe don't expect Munro to be on the front two rows, although I'd like to see him prove me wrong, and he's a capable driver. But come race, yeah, that Bentley will be putting the times in, and it is a track that it's suited to here at Spa. It's lots of top end speed. It's not a bad handling car, and yeah, I expect to see Munro and teammate doing a really good job tonight.
There's Dean Riley in the 101 Team Vodafone Mercedes, partnered with Rich Smith, and they're currently running P7, 1.3 seconds off of Hendrickson's blistering time. So at the moment in the top 10, 4 of them are Mercedes. We have got a lone Nissan in the 626, and that is Matt Kennedy in the Total Performance Racing, running in the fantastic KCMG livery. Is there?
Yeah, just to mention as well, we were talking about John Munro, and a reliable source has just told me that it's his birthday today. So happy birthday to John, and hopefully your birthday wishes come true with at least a podium tonight, buddy. So yeah, let's hope so.
Yep, fingers crossed. Let's see if that can be brought to fruition as Matt Kennedy now makes his way in the 626 Nissan. As Marion Samol goes now. That was a Lexus just up ahead that went spinning, and I'm wondering, was that Lindsay in the 212? Because Marion Samol just had to do a massive avoid there in the Exodus Racing Esports Jaguar.
Absolutely, backwards is not the quickest. The Lexus isn't a bad car, but it's a lot faster going forwards.
Yeah, but I think at the end of the day, it looks like Paul has actually got back out onto the circuit. He's with Chris Bowman in the PC Racing vehicle. Darrell Upton in the 21 Audi with PSR, currently running P13, exactly 2.1 seconds off of the best time from William Hendrickson from Griffax Engineering. And a lot of the drivers now getting themselves ready for their second opportunity in qualifying. So it's where they will now look to check the tyre pressures, wonder on how much fuel they're going to put in the car, ready for the qualifying attempts, as there is Gianluca De Luca in the 135, McLaren 720S. And that's quite a key point in qualifying, isn't it, Steve? That to look at every single which way you can to optimise the setup. And with Spa being such a fast circuit, sometimes they will go for a low aero setup.
Yeah, absolutely. Some of the guys will run a different setup for qualifying, as we've just seen Harry Spears go into the 16s as well in third place with a 2:16.5, so he's less than a tenth off pole position, basically. So the top 3 are separated by less than a tenth now. But yeah, some of the guys will run separate setups. Not all of them, but you definitely, because obviously start running lower fuel, then it affects the ride height. You need to play with the aero and maybe the dampers as well. Let's not forget there are a set of softer compound brake pads you can use for qualifying, which just allow you to brake that fraction later. And it is only a fraction, but it does make a difference when you're talking about tenths and 100ths and even thousandths of a second, as we are this evening. So yeah, there's a few things you can do.
So there is Ranjev Kalsi in the number 71 Ferrari, and he's partnered with Reese Wiggin in the Midlands Triple R entry, currently running P16. Evening to Yannick Müller. So good to hear from you, Yannick. Well done last time out in our previous round of GT4 Season 3, which was an absolute belter. Harry Spears is 87,000 slower than Will Hendrickson, as Joe McCauley in the Coach Dave Academy BMW 888 looking to up the ante and try and get one up on Will Hendrickson. So it is down to driver 1 that is to qualify every single round of this season. And in 2 weeks' time, we head to Mount Panorama on the 6th of December for the penultimate round of this ACC GT3 Driver Swap season. Oh, and Macaulay, I've just been informed he is 2/10 up at the minute. So this is going to be a pretty quick lap. We're going to get closer and closer to the 2:15s. Let's just keep an eye on the time. He goes P1, 2:16.116. That is over 3/10 quicker than Will Hendrickson. And it looks like the Coach Dave Academy have unlocked something in that BMW to really make it sing.
Yeah, that's a fantastic time from Joe there. Really, really top draw, top class, professional. Absolutely any more accolades I can throw on that time, because that's brilliant. 2:16.1. Not much closer to a 2:15 without going into the 2:15s, really. And that's put 3/10 between him and second and third place, now nearly 4/10 for third place. So he's really sort of stamped their authority on that pole position. And if I'm honest, it's a tall order to beat that time, I think.
A very tall order, but if there is a car that could possibly get close to it, it might be the Mercedes of both Hendrickson, Spears. Look at Regan Mitchell, currently up in P4 in the number 43. He's done a 2:17.2 at this particular moment.
Just interestingly, I'm just looking at the splits between first and second, and Macaulay made the most of that time up in the first part, so through Eau Rouge and down the Camel Straight. He was 3/10 faster than second place just in that one sector. So that's where he made most of his lap time up. So just interesting, it's the speed down the straight that's got him that pole position there.
Yeah, and if that's unassisted, that's even more impressive, as there is Will Hendrickson in the number 81. 5 minutes of the qualifying session still to go. Steve Haley in the number 25 Porsche, currently 2.163 seconds off of Macaulay's blistering lap time. I think everyone else must be thinking, how the hell did he pull that one out of the bag? Well, they've obviously got the setup right, and Macaulay, when he wants to go for it, he will absolutely throw caution to the wind. That's what Hendrickson is trying to do at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, they're absolutely flat out. I mean, to be honest, Macaulay, I know he won't, but he could more or less rest on his laurels with that one and just sit back now and watch the clock tick down, because, as I said, I don't think the other guys are going to get past. We're just sort of seeing the BMW up on the top, and then it's Mercedes.
Williams is up as well. Oh, Williams and William Hendrickson was literally, if he'd have got another 20 thousandths to his credit, he would have picked Macaulay by 2 1,000ths to provisional pole. It's 18 thousandths. What a Herculean effort from Hendrickson there. And I'm just looking at the sector times. Okay, he made the majority of his time up, Steve, by nearly 4/10 in sector 2. That Mercedes was absolutely rapid. He was 2/10 off. He was over 2/10 off in sector 1 and nearly 2/10 off in sector 2. But he made up that time in sector 2 itself. So
yeah, what that tells me for the race, though, Alex, is that the BMW is not going to get past on the Camel Straight, and sector 2, it is very difficult to overtake at Spa around there if the car in front doesn't want you to get past. It's hard, so that BMW is going to take some beating if they can get down the Camel Straight first, avoid any slipstream on the first couple of laps. They're going to be tough boys to beat in that BMW tonight.
Yeah, keep your eyes on Stin Paswan. He's just put in an absolute blinder. The number 617 has just gone P15 in the Aston Martin. Second highest Aston Martin out of the field so far. But Macaulay looks to be trying to do his best to respond. We saw that blistering lap from Macaulay earlier on in the session. We've only got 2 minutes and 40 left still to go. But Macaulay, if he does, well, he's going to have enough time for completing this lap and then another flyout to see if he can further expand that gap. And he's 2/10 up already. So, and that's through sector 1. So the BMW really, really motoring on. I mean, Steve, this is impressive from both Macaulay and Hendrickson. They're both responding to each other like we would see in a massive fight for a qualifying session. And Macaulay's going to get another lap in.
Yeah, I think they're going for that 2:15, aren't they? It's there it is, a 2:15.7. Now that is, I've said it once already tonight, I don't think that's going to be beaten. That is an absolutely fantastic time, and Hendrickson's responded by going to the pits So he's not going to get another lap in. That's their session over.
And Macaulay has done exactly the same thing. That was twice in one session. And that was Macaulay's warning shot from Coach Dave Academy to say to everyone, guys, you think you might have us here at Spa. We think otherwise. And to put in a lap time like that, holy moly.
Well, just to hammer home, when I can speak, put my teeth back in, what I was saying earlier about the BMW and the speed down the Camel Straight. So again, they've gone sort of 0.3 faster down the Camel Straight, Sector 1, but then also in Sector 3, where you've got the back straight, they are another sort of 0.3 faster there. They just lose a bit in the Sector 2 to the Mercedes. So on the top speed sections, that BMW is very, very quick.
Yeah, Dean Riley crosses the line, still remains 8th at the moment. Clements in the number 118. He's actually in the pits. There's Charlie Crossland. Best effort from him so far, a 2 minutes 17.271. As he looks to improve. Martin Dagala from Blue Flag Racing crosses the line, remains in 18th, as we have got yellow flags briefly out on the circuit. Ranjiv Kalsi 19th at the moment. So yeah, it looks like a few drivers trying to do what they can as Marcus Hager goes through in the Absolute Racing 54, well, in the number 54 Porsche, currently running in 28th, and the Porsche doesn't have the gearing like a lot of the cars. It will max out at about 275 kph, whereas some of the other cars will be pushing 290, 300 kph going down the Kemmel Straight into Les Combes. Checkered flag is now out for the session.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see some of the race times regarding, we were talking earlier about different setups for qualifying. So, the question is the BMW running a little bit less downforce for the qualifying to give it that top speed? Or is that a race setup? Will they be a little bit more conservative for the race setup? Maybe, but we might find out in an interview at the end, or if anyone's available, an interview before the race starts between qualifying and race.
Yep, so Regan Mitchell trying to do his best to get up into the top 3, but we've got a McLaren spinning. Talk about absolutely when you didn't want it to happen, sliding out of, and that was coming through Blanchimont, so that McLaren was very sideways and then went backwards nearly into the path of Regan Mitchell. He crosses the line, stays 4th. Kennedy in 11th. Upton and Kelsey 17th and 18th. There's Richard Pixley and the number 76 from Lost Lexus Racing. He's now coming through into the bus stop chicane for the final time in this qualifying session. Marion Samol takes 12th. Dixon 14th ahead of Steve Haley. Paspon. Pixley goes 20th and puts in a 2:18.732. And here comes Marcus Hagel in the number 54. Porsche through the bus stop chicane, that's across the line, and stays 28th. But again, for the second round in a row, it is Coach Dave Academy's Joe Macaulay that puts it on pole position in that BMW, and by a whopping margin there, Steve, of over 3.5 tenths at the end of 20 minutes of qualifying.
Yeah, that's a big gap, and that's a fantastic qualifying lap. I mean, the only man to get into the 15s, but he hasn't just scraped in. He's, like you say, he's 2.5 tenths nearly into the 15s. So a fantastic lap from him. And but it has to be said, there's some good qualifying times from all the guys there, and there's going to be some great battling throughout the field, I think, this evening.
Yeah, so pretty much a lot of talking points I think we're going to have here at Spa-Francorchamps for the second round of the Simsport Racing Assetto Corsa Competizione GT3 Driver Swap season. And as you can see, that is your top 20, rounded out by the number 76 of Richard Pixley. 80 minutes maximum driver time per driver. 3 mandatory pit stops, all require tyre changes. And again, Steve, one of the other things that we're going to see here at Spa, like we saw at Suzuka on our season opener 2 weeks ago, the fuel strategies are going to play a key part, because obviously you're going to be at full throttle for over 60% of this lap around here. And that's gonna more than just sip at the fuel. It's gonna literally drink it by the gallon full.
Yeah, they are long laps around here. They are, like you say, pretty much. There's a lot of full throttle sections at Spa, and not just full throttle sections. You're on the full throttle for a good few seconds at a time. So yeah, that throttle body's wide open, drinking as much fuel and sucking as much air as they can to reach that top performance. So yeah, the fuel strategies are going to be good. If we do get any weather, then obviously that's going to affect strategies. And pit stops are very, very important. The drivers have to get them right. They have to hit their marks. Otherwise, it costs them time in the pits as well, which is not what they want. Because if you're battling for a position and you're a couple of tenths behind when you go in the pits, a simple mistake in the pit stop could cost you a full second or two. And that's a massive gap on track. And let's not forget the pit stops are mega long here, such a long in and long out. It does take quite some time to complete a pit stop. And another thing the drivers will need to avoid tonight is track limit infringements, because a drive-through at Spa is painful. Let me tell you from experience, it's painful.
Yeah, and that was Gianluca De Luca. There's the replay. I don't think you could have cut that any closer with a knife, a warm knife through hot butter, but that was definitely the most spectacular moment that we had. Someone going off track, and unfortunately Gianluca De Luca having a bit of a moment there. Angus Martin has put in the chat, last time out was fun with the weather, but can we please have a dry race? And he's praying to the weather gods, sim racing gods right now. Hopefully we can all put on a show for you guys. I'm sure that everyone will do, Angus, and I wish you all the very best of luck. Upshift Media is saying, yeah, praying for the raid gods. Well, there you go. On one good foot, one good son deserves another, Steve.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it just makes it all interesting. And just to point out to everyone watching at home, the weather is random. We don't actually control it. We've got percentages, chances set in there, and that's what we run week in, week out. It's the same. But some weeks, as we saw last time out at Suzuka, we got some torrential rain, but it dried up towards the end of the race, which made for some fantastic tactical changes for the drivers and teammates to make decisions on. And it really panned out to be some fantastic racing. There was some winners, there was some losers, but it really does add to the realism and to the whole event and to the stress levels for the drivers. It has to be said.
And for us in the commentary box, I think we were needing the defibrillators on standby, mate.
I just had a big smile on my face when I saw the rain, to be honest. But please don't hate me for that.
Hey, I think at least we know we don't have to be the ones battling out there with the rest of the drivers on the field. But hopefully, very soon, we will be getting things underway with the 2.5-hour race here at Spa-Francorchamps, based in the Ardennes Forest. It's a track I've actually had the pleasure of visiting myself personally, and I've been looking forward to this one. And I know that the drivers, they love this track, but it is about time to focus and motivate yourselves forward and go for broke, because that's what they're going to have to do. It's not going to be an endurance race. It's going to be a sprint race from lights out to checkered flag. And I think at the end of the day, Coach Dave Academy, Steve, have really put themselves once again into prime position for the race here. Looks like it's going to be a good. Looks like the track temperature has dropped, so it looks like there's a bit of cloud overhead as well, Steve. So that could really be interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the cloud affects the track temperatures, and track temperatures affect the tyre pressures, which affect the grip level, which, affect the handling of the car. So there's, little things that you read on the screen and you think, it's dropped 1 degree. 1 degree doesn't make much difference, but let me tell you, it can do. And it can affect you differently at different corners. So you can go from having a car that seems like it's, forgive the pun, but almost on rails, to a car that suddenly feels a little bit loose through some of the faster corners. And when a car steps out at 150 miles an hour, it really is a little bit of an edgy feeling, let me tell you.
Yeah, so Angus Martin, he's saying, what is it? Just put on the restream. Go me. Yeah, Angus, I think you might get a slap on the wrist for that one. Johan Pedersen says, go Team Jaguar. Well, of course, we know that there is only 2 drivers that are definitely brazen enough to go with the XKRS GT3. And that would be, I'm just trying to have a look down my list again. Marion Samuel and Johan Pedersen. Well, you're cheering for yourself as well then, Johan.
Absolutely.
And then the tank 9891 says, go Simbro Sport. So another team getting a shout out there. So we look forward to seeing who is going to be the ones that really puts the cat amongst the pigeons here at Spa. But with it being a 13-degree air temperature, 15-degree track temperature, it's going to make for some interesting racing here at Simsport Racing, the place to race. Don't forget to head to our official website, simsport-racing.com. And if you didn't see the trailer just before we came back, Simply Race is moving to a new location in Q1 of 2021. So we look forward to hearing the further developments. So if you want to find out more about Simply Race, what is happening, further updates, head to simplyrace.co.uk. And a big thank you once again to Mike Yao, as always, for his fantastic broadcast directorial skills, which we have been treated to for many a month. And I'm sure that we'll get a lot of that tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just going back to the Jaguar, the Jaguar is not the most popular of cars, and well done to Johan for picking the Jaguar. Whether he picked it or his teammate did, not really sure, but well done to that. And these type of events where they're a driver swap, they're a little bit longer than normal. The Jaguar can, even though it's not potentially the fastest at hot lapping, if you can drive it consistently, you can still get up into that top 10 with it. You can have a good drive in it, and it just drive what you like. We like to see a good grid full of variants out there, and it's great to see someone in the Jag.
Indeed, we are now awaiting for the field to be under starters' orders. Another comment coming in. Shout out to Tim Fulbrook. Really excited to see what Angus Martin and Stin Passpont can do tonight. A new team who are really putting in the hours to take on the big names. Of course, they're running in the Dan Busters Motorsport 617. And they are currently running in 11th in the championship standings. So that Aston Martin, if it works well around here at Spa-Francorchamps, and with the efforts of Stin putting the team on 16th on the grid, it's going to be interesting to see how they get on. So we will find out very, very shortly. But just as I'm not going to say to you, Steve, pick a winner, because that would be cruel, because we don't know what unpredictability we're going to have, as we've got 2 minutes until the race starts. So we have Macaulay and Shermatinsky starting on the front row. Then it's Spears and Pinchbeck, row 2, Pride and Clements, row 3, Crossland and Monroe, row 4. Then Riley and Vidanovic, that is the completion of the top 5 rows. Completing the top 10, then it is Martin Pilkington and Samol, row 6, Isalovic and Dixon, row 7, Haley and Passpont, row 8, Upton, Kelsey, Dergala and Pixley round out the top 20 positions. And with what we now have as 28 cars on the grid, I think this is going to be quite fearsome, seeing them all fly to La Source and then go into Eau Rouge for the first time, Steve, because that's going to be rather interesting.
Yeah, it'd be nice if we can get the sort of the helicopter view on the first lap for Eau Rouge, because that really does sort of show you the stream of cars, of 28 cars, how impressive that will look through there for the first time, and hopefully the drivers will be able to give each other enough racing room and just that little bit of extra respect as they go through there for the first time. But yeah, it's going to be absolutely awesome, this race tonight. I'm really looking forward to it. The drivers have, as I've said before, have been putting in lots and lots of practice. There's been somebody on the server pretty much most evenings, and during the day as well. They've been on there just tweaking setups. Some of the guys took part in a 12-hour race at Spa yesterday as well. So yeah, they've certainly put some time in at Spa this weekend.
They have indeed. So we count down with 7 seconds on the clock before we get underway with the formation lap. Air temperature 16 degrees Celsius, track temperature 23 degrees Celsius, and there is sunshine surrounding the virtual recreation of the Ardennes forests, as now Macaulay starts leading the field away. And it is about time for us to get racing here at Simsport Racing, the place to race for the halfway point of our GT3 Driver Swap season. And it is looking to be an absolute cracker. And with the virtual fans in the grandstand, Steve, I'm sure that they're going to look forward to one hell of an entertaining show tonight.
Yeah, very much. Like you say, it's going to be very difficult to call. There's going to be some interesting strategies. The weather is with us. We're looking at the top right of the screen there. We've got sunshine for the next 30 minutes at least. The track is at optimum. The track temperature is 23 degrees. Still very little wind. So, yeah, it's good conditions for some good fast racing. And we'll just see if these guys can see if anyone can beat that BMW. I mean, that's got to be the favourite to win. But obviously the Griphax Mercedes behind. It's only 3/10 off, and what's 3/10 in the real world?
Not much by all accounts, but on a track and such as this, and when it's quite rather fearsome, 0.3 of a second is about possibly an eighth of the Kemmel Straight between cars. So in my estimation, that means that Macaulay and Parker will have an absolute jump on the field. But also the fact that with the new DLC, I would imagine that some of the drivers may have a little bit of familiarity on their side, because obviously there were updates to the Ferrari 488, bringing in an Evo package for Assetto Corsa Competizione, and the same for the 488 GT3. Now, out of those cars, has everyone adapted to the Evo, or have they stuck with the original GT3 if they're running with the Ferrari or the Mercedes? That's the biggest thing.
To be fair, because we'd started this championship with the old cars, we've stuck with them. There's nobody running the Evos, and we're on the 2019 tracks as well, even though Kunis have released the 2020 tracks. So basically, they are the same, apart from that update on the tyre models to all cars. Mm-hmm. So, there is an update to the tyre models, but performance-wise, there should be somewhere where there or thereabouts. The guys have noticed the tyre model issues, and they have had to adapt to that. And as I said earlier, the first lap there might be one or two incidents with guys not quite taking it easy enough, but we will see.
Yeah. Good evening, Dave Hedges. You need to stop using the Simsport Racing YouTube channel. I think we might have had a slight issue there, I believe. Looked like, Harry Spears had an issue. I think also Steve Haley was showing up in the Porsche and was caught on the inside of one of the corners. So we are just awaiting for whether we are going to get a reset and get things back to starting once again. So a 2.5 hour race. Server has been restarted according to Gerard DeBar. Thank you very much for pointing that out. But you know what you need to do, Mr. Proudley? You need to tell Dave Hedges to use his own channel ID for when he starts commenting on our own videos.
Yeah, we'll have a chat later. But Dave does a lot of work behind the scenes for Simsport Racing. Dave, just so everyone's aware, is responsible for a lot of these transitions, and him and Steve Haley work very hard on the thumbnails and everything like that. So we have to cut Dave some slack, because he does put a lot of time and effort into the community. As one of the admins, Dave takes on more than his fair share of work. So just saying it out there in the public, thank you, Dave, for everything you do and helping to make this such a fantastic community to be part of.
And he always knows that there's always a bit of banter between us three anyway, so it's one good turn deserves another, eh?
Yeah, absolutely. And if he doesn't behave himself, we do mention Snow White, don't we?
Oh dear, don't go there. I was hoping someone was not going to say those two words. Thank goodness it was you first. So server has been restarted due to a competitor issue. So I think that might have been Harry Spears and possibly Steve Haley. So so we have reset the server, and we will hopefully be getting things well and truly underway here.
Yeah, just to point out to people watching that aren't familiar, when you're running driver swap events on ACC, there are a few sort of rules that competitors have to follow with regards to joining the server and being part of the race. And if any one of those rules is not followed, in particular, like which driver joins the server first, so driver 1, driver 2, so on and so forth, it can affect the server, and that's what we're seeing at this moment in time. It's nothing wrong with the server as such, it's just a competitor issue. Somebody's maybe done something in the wrong order, and it's just created a problem for everybody else, and they've had to restart the server.
Yeah, so hopefully very soon we'll be getting things back underway very shortly. Don't forget, you can head to our relevant social media platforms, along with our group on Simsport, on Facebook for Simsport Racing, and then on Twitter it's Simsport_Racing, Simsport.Racing on Instagram, and you can also head to our official website at simsport-racing.com. And I think the biggest thing here, Steve, is that the drivers really now have to settle in, get the consistency going, get past that initial sort of phase of the tyres getting cold, but they're going to have to react accordingly when the 3 mandatory pit stops happen. And, just looking again at that time from Joe McCauley, that was absolutely ridiculous, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. I wish I could do that. I wish I could get in the 16s, to be honest. I think my best time around here is in a Porsche, and it's about 17.3, something like that. So that would have put me all the way down, maybe around about 9th place in the Porsche. But, it's some very, very quick guys there, and, some absolutely fantastic drivers. And it's really scary to think that, we've got Joe McCauley, who's put that pole time in, but we know very well that his teammate, Mr. Parker, is equally as adept at putting that sort of time in as well. So they've got a fantastic team there in what appears to be a very quick car as well, with a fantastic setup on it. So it'll be interesting to see what sort of race pace they've got, what lap times they put in comparison to the guys behind them. Just want to say well done to Regan Mitchell, one of the regular Simsport drivers, getting it into 4th place there. That's a great effort from him. I'm so sure Chris Pinchbeck, his teammate, will be very happy with that. At least they're at the right end of the grid to start battling from the start.
Yeah, Angus Martin has said, still not bad, Proudley. Don't knock your pace. Well said, Angus. I think at the end of the day, we were having a chat before going online, and you decided to go on one of the practice servers, and you said, like, I didn't really think I was going to miss this, but it's like, yeah, I do actually miss this, but it's one of those things, isn't it?
It is, and if anyone wants to get involved, a week today, we're running a fun race, and it is just a one-off fun race on ACC at Imola, using the GT3s, and that includes the new Evo cars as well. It's just going to be a 60-minute lights to flag race, no mandatory pits or anything like that, and we're not streaming it or anything. It's just a community fun race, and I'm going to race in that one. It'll be the first time I've raced with these guys for a few months, I think now. I can't remember. It was Laguna Seca.
GT4 Laguna Seca.
Yeah, season 2 was it?
Season 1.
Season 1. Wow.
Because you kept Aaron Walker very, very honest indeed, didn't you?
Yeah, well, I got a lucky break, didn't I? 'Cause I started 20-something and got up to 4th, finished 4th overall, which I got a few lucky breaks. It was raining. I like the rain personally. I like a loose car, but yeah, it was good fun to be racing. And when I got on the practice server the other night at Imola, it was like, yeah, I need to do a little bit more racing. As much as I enjoy your company, I really enjoy commentating. I do still have a passion for driving and racing as well.
Well, as they say, Steve, once a racer, always a racer, even in the virtual world, my friend.
Yeah, I'd say it's the community is such a good bunch of people. That everyone's great fun to be around, and you go on there, you put your VR headset on, you've got your headphones on, you've got everyone chitter chattering away, you're doing a bit of racing, you can really put the real world to one side, as it were, and just have fun with a group of mates. It's fantastic, and that's genuinely what Simsport feels like. It's a genuine group of friends.
Yeah, I'd have to echo that as well. The amount of banter I see in the relevant voice, the relevant text chats is, everyone's got something to say. It's always done in jest, and whenever it's, someone starts a joke going, it's like everyone else just decides to go along with it as well. So we are effectively just under 30 seconds away from getting the formation lap underway here from the rundown from La Source to Eau Rouge. So it will be McCauley and Shermatinsky leading the field away in the 888 BMW and the 81 Mercedes. And it's... You've already started the... I was just looking at Dave Jones's comment saying, do you have to have the VR headset? Well, not necessarily. Some people use single screens, triple screens, or one of the more curved screens, which seems to be the in thing nowadays when it comes to sim racing, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Basically, whatever you want. We all have our own preferences to what equipment we run, what we can afford, and what we've got, basically. And I just happen to have VR, but some of the lads run triple screens, some run single screens. It's totally up to you. It doesn't really matter. The only thing you need to be is on Discord to talk to us and just be part of the community. And if you've got any questions, there's always somebody there that's willing to answer the questions in a sensible way as well as in a fun way. We do have a lot of a laugh, but the community is also very, very helpful, and we take helping people very seriously.
Okay, so let's run through the top 20 of the grid that is about to go into battle. 28 cars, that is 56 drivers. So it will be Macaulay and Shermatinsky. They will be starting on the front row of this grid in the 888 and the 81 respectively, as we see Jeffrey Wolf in the Simsport Sport 119 starting. So we will have Harry Spears and then Regan Mitchell in third and fourth position respectively, Cody Pride, and then we have got Clements just alongside in the 118, Crossland and Monroe, that is row 4. Riley and Vidanovic, that is the completion of the top 10 ahead of Martin Pilkington, Samol, Isalovic, Dixon, Haley, Passpont, Upton, Kelsey, Dogala and Pixley rounding out the top 20. Then we got Guest, Weller and Lindsay completing the top 23 positions. And yeah, it's Gerard de Bob has put a bet in.
I knew you were reading that one.
I want to bet a Snickers that the 119 will not win the race but get to the top 15 from P25. How are you going to? Dave Hedges has instantly responded saying, "Yeah, good luck with that one." But that just shows the camaraderie we have here at Simsport Racing. I just wonder how he's going to is he going to be able to send that electronically, or is he going to have to send that by FedEx? Because you'd have a hell of a lot of a postage charge on that one for an 80p bar of Snickers. That depends on where you buy it from.
Yeah, absolutely. But I am partial to a Snickers, so I will take that bet, Mr. Gerard de Bar, and hopefully you'll be sending me a box full of Snickers.
Yes, so there you go, Gerard. You're on. In the words of Mr. Proudley, you're well and truly on. 2.5 hours of racing around the fantastic Spa-Francorchamps circuit in the Ardennes Forest. So 7.004 kilometres, 4.352 miles. Normally the longest circuit, or one of the more iconic circuits on the Formula 1 calendar, but also a staple within the total 24 hours of Spa-Francorchamps. They also hold the 25 hours of Fun Cup at this very circuit, and that in its own right is a sight to behold. But the drivers getting themselves ready to go racing. And again, Steve, it looks like we've optimum temperatures, a little bit of cloud in the sky, but very sunny. And 15 degrees air temperature, 22 degrees track temperature. Looks like the track is at optimum as we are fast approaching the conclusion of the formation lap as they heading their way through Blanchimont and into the bus stop chicane. Oh, I can't pick a winner from this lot.
No, it's very much going to depend on these opening few laps and how clean they can get away, but we're going to find out in the next few seconds as they're coming one more corner to go before they head to the start lights. Okay, lights are red at the moment, and Macaulay and Hendrickson will be controlling the pace. It looks like Hendrickson is taking the start. Ladies and gentlemen, we are about to go racing here at Spa-Francorchamps. Have we gone green here? We're waiting, but so we're going on the old start-finish line. A big thank you to our broadcast director Mike Yao for telling us that. So they're going to start coming down the hill as Regan Mitchell goes a little bit wide coming out of the source. It is now time to go racing here at Simsport Racing for 2.5 hours. Macaulay and Hendrickson line astern
So wait for it, hold on to something. The lights have gone green. We are off and away, and a brilliant start from Hendrickson to get the jump on Macaulay, heading into Eau Rouge and Radillon as they come up to the crest of the hill, going onto the Kemmel Straight. And it looks like Harry Spears has also got the run on the BMW down the Kemmel Straight for the first time. But the power of the BMW starting to come into fruition for Macaulay. He's looking towards the outside of Hendrickson as they head down towards Les Combes, but Hendrickson keeps the lead for the moment, but runs wide. The BMW gets through. God, that was a bit of a close exchange, but Hendrickson outbraked himself, getting into Les Combes there, Steve.
Yeah, you can almost see that one coming. I mean, fantastic start. The BMW got the legs on the straight to get alongside him. Harry Spears got dragged along in the other Mercedes, 185 Mercedes as well. But basically, Hendrickson, just outbraked himself there and gave the position to Macaulay quite easily.
So, Macaulay leads from Hendrickson. Spears in third, Mitchell in fourth, Clements, Pride, Crossland, Monroe. Oh, we've had a few incidents at the back of the field. Paul Lindsay involved in there in the 2-1-2. And that was a proper carambolage right about there. Didn't really catch who else was involved, but it looks like it's getting a bit elbows out just behind Harry Spears. So Regan Mitchell having to fend off the number 118 of Clements, and then Cody Pride, Charlie Crossland, Dean Riley, John Monroe, Aaron Martin Pilkington. They're all in there with a shot of trying to get towards the top part of the second half of the top 10. Maybe even as high as fourth position, but this is where the chase really starts to begin, and we're only within the first 2 minutes of this race as they are now heading towards the bus stop chicane to complete lap number 1 as Mitchell goes defensive on Clements. Oh, gets a tap from behind from Cody Pride, and Mitchell manages to get that. Who was that banzaiing through?
Wow.
That was an Audi. That was Vidinovic. Vidinovic just absolutely sent it, and that is the biggest track cut I've seen going into the bus stop chicane. So Vidinovic will have to give multiple places back. I think that was probably from around 11th where he decided to banzai his way through the bus stop, but that is definitely not on. And yeah, Vidinovic now paying attention and deciding to let a few more people pass. And he's going to drop outside of the top 10, but that was a bit too... Oh, Pride just loses it going into the crest on Radillon and keeps it out of the barriers. And there's Crossland. The left-hand side of the Mercedes slams into the barriers on the other side. Oh, my goodness me. It is fast-paced, frantic, and no one is going to be invincible around the circuit here at Spa-Francorchamps.
No, and as we said earlier, you know, the new tyre model just takes a couple of laps to come into play to get the tyres into the working window, and I'm thinking that a couple of these mistakes are down to that. The outbraking mistake, I would say, into the final chicane, I would like to give him the benefit of the doubt and say that he's hit the brakes but been on had a wheel on the grass, and that's just launched him across the chicane and onto the start-finish straight, and was very, very lucky not to catch anyone else out there. But looks like he's given back most of those, if not all the positions that he gained. So credit to him for doing that. Right,
okay, here's a look at what happened a little bit further behind, and that looks to be the 135. So one of the cars goes a bit towards the right, and that was a Ferrari, I believe. There's a bit of a tag, and that was the 120 Aston Martin that went into the back, into the side of Gianluca De Luca. That was the combination of Tim Weller and Daniel Wood, and then yeah, it just gets even worse for De Luca, and that's going through on the Kemmel Straight, and he manages to rejoin in the 135, but that's not really helped. Charlie Crossland dropped to 20th position, now has moved up into 18th place. Harry Spears now closing down on William Hendrickson from Griffax Engineering as they now hit the bus stop chicane. 2 hours, 25 minutes and 40 seconds on the clock remain, as looks like Macaulay's eked out a gap of around about he's put in a 2:17.4 on that particular lap, and has opened up the gap to around about 2 seconds at the minute after just 2 laps. He's done a bit of a Sebastian Vettel there, hasn't he? Back from the old Red Bull days.
That's fantastic race pace to be doing that from the off. Second lap complete, 2:17.439. That's an awesome lap with race fuel on. And just going to go to another replay now. Who are we looking at here?
Now that is going into Les Combes, and Yeah, there's a McLaren that's just been involved. That was the 119, and that was Jeffrey Wolf and Gerard DeBar duo in the Simsport McLaren, hitting the side of Paul Lindsay in the 212 Honda. Though, yeah, it's not been easy for some of the regulars, but it is getting a bit fast and frantic at the front, because Harry Spears is trying to close on Will Hendrickson, and last time around was about 0.3 of a second slower in the same machinery as Vidanovic. His race has gone from bad to worse, drops from 18th to 23rd. And there looks to be a possible problem. That steering wheel was all the way to the right-hand side, and Vidanovic pulls it into the pits very, very suddenly.
Yeah, absolutely. It looked like that was almost undrivable, so no option but to escape to the pits. He has got the option now to repair the car and return out. It will be a lap down, because it pulls you back to the beginning of the last lap if you escape into the pits like he did there, but not sure what he'll do. Some drivers might retire from that incident. Some will take the time and rejoin, but it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, just had a couple of comments from Gerard DeBar from Simbro Sport. He just basically said we got hit into the wall because someone was ghosting on the track, race over, and then he went with the following words: "I've lost a couple of bars of Snickers as a result of it."
Oh, I didn't expect to win the bet that quickly, and to be honest, that's not the way I would have wanted to win the bet either, Gerard. So we'll just call it quits, mate, and unlucky on this evening's race.
Our broadcast director wants his, though.
He's ruthless.
Yeah, but looks like there's a bit of contretemps between. No contact, of course, but Aaron Martin Pilkington in the 626 Total Performance Racing Nissan went a bit too, I think he might have just outbraked himself going into the bus stop chicane, and Dean Riley in the Team Vodafone Mercedes was able to capitalise, but the wild Jaguar in this field, piloted by Marion Simol in the number 37, currently running P8, but is being chased down by Martin Pilkington as they go down the dip into Eau Rouge and then up towards the crest at Radillon before heading the Kemmel Straight. And just behind is Steve Haley, who's now up into 10th place, having started 15th in this race. But the gap between McCauley and Hendrickson now just over 2.2 seconds. Harry Spears trying to close in for second position on Hendrickson, and it's just 0.7 of a second adrift as we are now on to our fourth lap as Martin Pilkington, Samol and Riley make their way through through Le Coulomb and into Malmedy. As okay, no, you were spot on. Yeah, I think it was just Vidanovic came onto the track, and that was very close. Clements could have absolutely have been catapulted along the start-finish straight sideways. So yeah, Vidanovic not having the greatest of starts to that race. So Racing Team Serbia having another one to forget, I fear.
Yeah, definitely, and just having a couple of issues at the minute, so just bear with us. But some of the racing there was very, very close, very, very frantic, and as I say, I think there was a few guys getting used to the new tyre model and just maybe not giving it enough time to get some heat into the tyres. But wasn't that issue with the car across the grass there, that could have taken out any one of 6 or 7 cars, couldn't it? And actually ended some of the leading cars' races there. It was very lucky that he didn't take anyone out.
Yeah, so so just please bear with us on the technical side of things. Are we having another server reset to receive?
I'm not sure. I'm just looking for messages, just checking messages, and I haven't got anything through as yet. Hopefully not, because I was just really getting into that racing. It was some fantastic stuff and some fantastic...
there we go. Looks like we're back.
Battles.
And there is Steve Haley, and he's closing on Aaron Martin Pilkington in the number 626 Nissan. The gap between them last time was just over 1.27 seconds. So Haley, he's been running in the 219 fives there. So he's been doing pretty well. Steve Haley up from 15th. So it's going to be still very much undecided as McCauley It's just like, he's like the Cheshire Cat that's got the cream at the moment. He's got a gap of 3.4 seconds over Will Hendrickson. That's ridiculous. After, what is it? We're now on to lap number 5 of this race.
Yeah, I mean, we did say, didn't we, at the beginning, that if Macaulay gets a break after the first lap, he could very well put some time between him and the rest of the guys. And that is exactly what he's doing. Hendrickson and Spears are having the battle of their own for sort of second and third place. Then we've got John Clements and Regan Mitchell. Look at that, they're battling very close together as well.
Okay, here's a replay. Now, that was not how Jeffrey Wolf and Gerard Duval wanted to finish their race there. So that was...
Yeah, that looked like somebody else's ping issue caused that incident, which is really unfortunate and not what you want to see on the server, but yeah, very unfortunate for those guys.
Looks like also the number 21, that is Dean Allen and Darrell Upton. They're also in the pits, currently in 23rd as we go on board with Regan Mitchell, and he's got John Clements from PSR on the 118 Aston Martin just up ahead. They've just come through Blanchimont. They're now going to be heading into bus stop chicane, and just up there in the distance, Harry Spears is closing on Will Hendrickson. So a lot of action happening up and down the field here.
I was just say John Munro's closed on these guys as well, because I think at one point he was over a second behind, but I think the fact that Mitchell and Clements have just been battling, because Clements has just got past Mitchell in this lap, has allowed Munro to catch, and that Bentley will be coming to Munro, and now the laps are ticking by, his pace will start to increase, and there's nothing, no greater incentive than being right on the tail of the car in front of you and battling for 5th place.
So John Munro in the Bentley from Sancho Simsport Simply Race, starting to close on Regan Mitchell. Spears trying to close on Hendrickson. Heading into Les Combes, Mitchell goes defensive on Munro. Munro looking to put that Bentley around to the outside, and there is the Audi. I think that is the 21 Audi, just getting out of the way. So good spatial awareness there from that would have been Upton, Darrell Upton in the number 21. They're currently 10th in the standings.
Yeah, Mitchell defended that position and hung on to it by the skin of his teeth through there. The back marker nearly had an effect on that position, but he did really well, because he was virtually right off track at one point defending, but Munro gave him enough space, and Mitchell managed to keep the car under control and keep the position on this occasion.
Yeah, Munro last time was just over a tenth and a second, just over a tenth and a half of a second quicker than Regan Mitchell, as they're now heading down towards the far part. Well, they're heading down the circuit, and this is where it gets really, really interesting, just to see which car will definitely have the run. And at the moment, Mitchell's still keeping it ahead of Munro. They're going to very shortly be going down this sort of like descent through the types of corners like Les Fagnes Campus, into the right-hander at Stavelot. So this is where the cars are really pushed to the limit. Oh, as Harry Spears trying to go up the inside of Hendrickson, and that was through Blanchimont just there that we saw that Munro was looking to close on Mitchell. So Spears loses out a lot of time there, trying to go up the inside of Hendrickson through the bus stop chicane, and the 185 from Team Fordzilla & Co comes off worst and drops well behind, as now Munro looking to get the switchback. Coming through La Source as Kelsey, that looks to be guessed in the one of the multiple cars. That is the number 33, and that is that's the 53. My apologies there. And it's really, really interesting to see how hard these drivers are pushing here, Steve, because it's not all over and done with yet.
Yeah, absolutely. The top three are pushing into the 17s. They're all in doing 2-minute 17s, albeit they are spread out a little bit now. The rest of the field, we've got the next couple of guys, Mitchell and Clements are in the 18s, and the other guys are in 19s and 20s. So there is a big difference between race pace for these guys. It's not quite as close as qualifying, and that's starting to show with the leaderboard, albeit there are groups of drivers very, very close together still, and included in that is Munro's. We're on board with John Munro now, chasing Regan Mitchell for 5th place. John Clements has pulled out an almighty gap since he got past Mitchell, and he's 3 seconds up the road now, so that's very, very impressive from Clements.
Yeah, Stin Passport in the 617 Dan Busters Motorsport Aston Martin Racing Vantage V8 GT3 was just showing in the pits. Yeah, and the number 53 of Guest is the Pulse Simsport B Mercedes that just had a bit of a turnaround, and in some respects I think the stewards will look at that one. Munro in the meantime closing on Mitchell, and that Bentley looking rather racy.
Yeah, absolutely. Doesn't get much closer than that. He's going to have to pull out of the slipstream now, and it could be the braking zone into the bus stop, but not quite sure. Regan's possibly going to cover that one off on the inside, and indeed he does there and manages to defend that fairly easily. Now the Mercedes will have a bit of a jump on the Bentley coming out the corners, but expect Munro, if he can keep close behind now, up through a Rouge into Radion, he will have a go down the Camel straight again.
Yeah, they come out of La Source and then down the dip, and this is where the Bentley starts to gather a bit of pace and keeps in the slipstream of Regan Mitchell, as they are literally millimetres from the wall on the right-hand side, heading down the hill as we go on the rear windscreen cam of Regan Mitchell in the 43.
Oh, the Bentley got a little bit loose there just on the exit into Radion as well. It just cost him a little bit of time, and he's not going to be close enough to have a look this time into Les Combs, but yeah, it just did well to hold on to that to John Munro. Just loosened up a bit over the curbs.
Yeah, it sort of stepped out to the right-hand side a little bit there, but luckily enough John Munro was able to catch it, so it's kept him within half a second, but not too far behind. Dean Riley in the 101 Team Vodafone Mercedes has started to close the gap, and when Munro had that little bit of a moment going through the exit of Radion, that meant that Riley was able to have a bit of an additional 0.2 of a second taken out of the gap between him and the 23 Bentley, as Harry Spears looking to again mount another assault on Hendrickson. And in the meantime, Macaulay has been eking out that lead lap by lap. He's been running in the 2:17.7s, and he's now got a gap of well over, that is what, nearly 6 seconds in that BMW, because Hendrickson is trying to hold off Spears. So it's nearly 5.5 seconds between first and second position. Spears about half a second adrift, and Spears is 6.6 seconds up the road from Clements from PSR in the 118 Aston Martin. 2 minutes and 12 seconds, still 2 hours and 12 seconds, 12 minutes. I'll try and get my teeth back in now. But this has been a great battle that Spears and Hendrickson really treating this like a proper full-on sprint.
Yeah, and just looking further back down the field as well, I was just looking for Charlie Crossland, because normally when that guy has a couple of issues, makes a mistake or two, he's very quick to try and come back through the field, but he's actually dropped back down to 20 seconds, so I'm guessing he's maybe picked up some damage, or he's just had further issues. I'm not quite sure what's going on there, but yeah, Charlie Crossland back down to 22nd.
Well, let's see if his teammate Fabien Piffet can help strengthen the cause, and there is number 66, currently in 26th position, as he's got the Porsche of Niall Schlitter just up ahead. And it looks like some of the drivers have already made their first of 3 mandatory pit stops. So
yeah, just a message on YouTube as well from Hallie Gaylor. His teammate, which I believe is the Glenn Guest, which is the Pulse Simsport B team, is having real life throttle problems. It's now an on-off switch. So obviously he can't moderate the throttle, so that's not going to make driving very easy. So we'll have to keep an eye on that car, see if he has to retire. Hopefully not. Maybe the problem will fix itself. Maybe it's just some dirt on the sensor. Who knows? But yeah, right. Hopefully he can keep going.
Well, we've just had a message from Seven, aka Fabien Piffet, said Charlie got involved in a wreck and then had a disconnect, and he's lost 5 laps in total. Hence why he's down now in 26th position. So let's see if those 2 drivers can start to make a few inroads. It's not going to be easy, but there is still over 2 hours and 10 minutes still remaining on the clock here at Spa-Francorchamps as Steve Riley is closing up to within half a second of John Munro, who's lost out big time to Regan Mitchell. The Bentley now down by about 1.7 seconds, so obviously Munro's moment going through Radion has not helped his cause, and then you can see a whole host of other cars not too far behind. Riley is just trying to keep an eye on where the Jaguar is. Well, that's 3.7 seconds behind. And Spears again closing on Hendrickson, going through into the bus stop chicane. So in many respects, this battle is still going to wage on. And Steve, one of the biggest things is who's going to undercut who between second and third place.
Yeah, it's always an interesting one when they come into the pits, and like I say, it's all on the driver to hit his marks correctly and get swapped over. The pit stop, the car will be stationary for there or thereabouts 30 seconds. If they hit their marks and stop bang on, get the engine stopped, the pit crew will go to work straight away. If they miss their marks slightly or they're a little bit slow stopping the engine, it just creates that 1/10, 2/10, 3/10, and time starts slipping away and it becomes very apparent. Also, the braking, when you're braking for that pit speed limiter, some people will push it closer than others, and again you can gain maybe a tenth if that there. But the pit stops are going to be play a major part tonight, and like you say, in a battle like this. Is second place holding up third place? Are they going to go for the undercut? Maybe that's the option to take.
Yeah, I'm just keeping an eye on the sector times, and Harry Spears has put in the fastest second sector of anybody in this race so far, a 1 minute .198. And he's also put in a personal best in sector number 3 as Markus Hagel in the number 54. Currently running in 18th and is closing on the number 79 THRC Wild Things pairing of Ivan Natafas and Denise Pope. They're currently running in 17th position, so a great start for the duo in the Lexus, as now Dorazio in the 135 trying to go alongside Hagel and gets past before they even hit Lecom. So the gearing of the Porsche really sort of hinders it on the longer parts of the straightaway, but with a shorter gearing here, Steve, the Porsche will be in its element because it handles pretty well around the corners, as we're just seeing Hagel trying to go around the outside of the Dorazio, and that was heading into Malmedy, and he made the move stick.
Yeah, the Porsche does struggle at Spa relative to top speeds and things like that, and it is very twitchy, and it does take a bit getting used to. It isn't bad in the corners and things, but since this new tyre model's come out, the update, it has made it even twitchier, and I've only done a couple of laps in it myself, but the lads driving it are saying that it's made it even harder to be as competitive as they were, shall we say. So the Porsche is a car that's struggling in general with a few drivers at the moment.
Yeah, Adam Isalovic from Marcada Racing in the 111 looks to be in the pits now, possibly to serve a mandatory pit stop, as there is Steve Haley in the Simply Race Porsche, number 24, currently running P11, but has just up ahead Cody Pride, Aaron Martin Pilkington, and then also Marian Samol in the Exodus Racing Esports Jaguar that is currently running in P8 at the moment in number 37. And Samol and Pedersen currently round out the top 15 in the overall standing. So a good performance so far, as we are fast approaching 6 and a bit minutes to go until we hit 2 hours left on the timer. Local server time, 1:31 p.m. Looks like the same conditions, cloudy with some sunshine overhead for the next 30 minutes of this race. No real wind factor to speak about, but if it goes in a particular direction down the Kemmel Straight, it's going to really help these drivers with a bit of top-end speed, won't it, Steve? It
will help them as long as they're aware of that extra kph, because obviously the braking zone will have to be adjusted accordingly, and a tailwind can affect that obviously and cause a few outbreak issues. Interestingly, the track temperature's also dropped 1 degree from where it was when we started, but I guess that's the extra cloud cover that's coming in, just allowing things to cool down a little bit. But it's great to see these guys battling away there, Pilkington and co. We're all very, very close, and look like they're having a good scrap, as these guys are as well on track.
Yeah, so Hagel Natafas. You've also got Dixon in the number 52, and that is one of the 3 Pulse Simsport entries. So Miles Dixon, partnered with Simon Crane, 52, currently running 21st in the standings at the minute, but 19th. And look how close that Mercedes is to that Porsche. And then you've also got Carlo Dorazio, teammate to Gianluca Di Luca, trying to go round towards the outside. That's not going to work quite there, but he'll get the run up the inside of Hagel into the next corner. But Hagel still keeps the Porsche well and truly planted, as they are now literally heading towards the far part of the track, going through, I think, Campus, and then through into Stavlo, as Natafas runs a bit wide. And that could have opened the door for Dixon, who's now got past Hagel. It's an absolute frantic squabble between this quartet at the minute. So these drivers really have to watch their P's and Q's and keep their elbows in for the moment, because they're getting to the higher speed parts on this circuit here at Spa-Francorchamps, and no one is giving any quarter whatsoever.
Yeah, there's a couple of these drivers as well, it has to be said, are maybe slightly out of position as well, so hence why they're battling so hard to try and make their way back through. They're just really hammer and tonguing it. You wouldn't think we had 2 hours and 3 minutes left to go, so there's still plenty of time, boys. Just take it easy, make sure the moves are measured, as it were, and don't get yourself any further damage or problems, and just race hard, clean but fair.
Indeed, I completely agree with that sentiment there, Steve, as Marcus Hagel now on the back bumper of Carlo Dorazio, as they're now heading down into Eau Rouge, up the hill into Hardillon, and then onto Kemmel Straight, as Spears and Hendrickson still battling away for second position. It has been the battle of the 2 3-pointed stars for second and third, and that has still been waging on for around the last 27 or so minutes, whilst Joe McCauley from Coach Dave Academy once again has been getting away, and by a considerable margin thus far.
Yeah, and it's Spears though that's holding the fastest lap at the moment with a 17.4 in comparison to McCauley's 17.7. So it's just down to Macaulay's sheer consistency. He just puts those laps in lap after lap after lap. I mean, obviously Spears is battling and has been battling all the time, but he has got that speed. He can put those lap times in if he can sort of get some space, get some clear track, and just be allowed to get his head down. I'm not saying he's going to be able to close that gap up on track without pit stops and things coming into play, but he's definitely got the speed to be battling for the lead. Because we're just seeing blue flags coming into play at the moment as well for these guys.
Yeah, that's going to add another dynamic, as now Hagel tries to go up the inside of Dorazio and has got the move done on the 135. Looks like Vidinovic is just behind these drivers as well, as that's a run wide and a half there from Dorazio, and that has allowed Hagel to slightly pull away. With Vidinovic trying to go around the outside of the McLaren and actually unlaps himself on the 135. That was a brilliant move in the Audi, but that is another run wide from Vidinovic and also Dorazio. And one of the biggest things here is Vidinovic really needs to keep out of the way, because he's not really battling these guys for position.
No, but if he feels he's got the pace, which he hasn't, because he's just spun coming out of the chicane. But just in general, if you're lapped, potentially it's because you've had some damage, you've had to make an early pit stop. You might come back out in the field further down and being amongst drivers maybe that aren't quite as capable of the lap times as you. You can unlap yourself, but you do need to be a fair bit quicker to do that safely. It's not an easy thing to do, because everybody's racing. We've just seen the Jaguar there spin out and go sideways and then backwards off the track. That's not going to do his race any good whatsoever.
Yeah, it looked like Martin Pilkington was going up the inside, and that was very, very close between the pair. And I think that was going through double gauche.
That was Simol, wasn't it?
Yeah. I think it was too difficult to call whether there was the slightest amount of contact from that sort of angle. But yeah, just seeing the back end of Samol's Jaguar sort of really sort of go completely sideways. But that has opened the door for Cody Pride and Steve Haley, as now they are hounding Martin Pilkington for what is 8th on the road.
Yeah, Steve Haley's doing a fantastic job. I mean, I think that incident's allowed him to close up, because he's one of the guys that's been struggling in the Porsche, and he's doing very well to hold it where it is. And he's just trying to outbrake there. That's not going to work. Cut back and maybe try and go around the outside onto the straight, but it's going to be a drag down now into La Source, but he's got the inside line as Cody Pride.
Yeah, he has at the minute. Steve Haley going in behind Martin Pilkington, as there is the move up the inside on the apex. Now Steve Haley takes the tighter line. Pride back into 9th place, as Martin Pilkington, with the sheer grunt of that 3.6 litre V6 turbocharged Nissan engine, manages to get past and back into 8th, as they absolutely hustle those 3 cars over the hill at Radiant down onto the Kemmel Straight. The Ferrari looks to be in a really, really good position. Pride, if he gets the run, if he's got this run timed perfectly, he'll be round the outside into Les Combes. He's got round the outside. Martin Pilkington not allowing him any opportunity. They're now going to head into the right at Malmedy. Martin Pilkington hangs on, and Steve Clowley keeps in close.
That was fantastic driving from Pilkington there. Really just stuck to his line, didn't do anything wrong. Cody Pride, credit to him, allowed the racing room, allowed the defence to happen. Fantastic side by side, and again it's brought Haley right back into it, and he's hanging onto the back of them. And as we see so often with Steve Haley, race in, race out, if he's not got the fastest car on the night, he will just sit there and he'll watch and he'll wait for those opportunities to present themselves. So don't discount Steve from a top 10 finish, but back to Aaron Martin Pilkington, Cody Pride, that was some fantastic driving from both drivers there.
Yeah, I was waiting. I mean, Cody went for it round the outside of Les Combes, and you know, Aaron was basically saying, "No sunshine. Unfortunately, the door is not well and truly open, like a gap in the Beijing wall." But you know, in the Beijing wall. But at the end of the day, that just shows how close and fair this racing is here in Simsport. As now Haley starting to close a little bit on the 2 ahead, as they're now heading down towards the far part of the circuit, and they are not. That was through Stavolo. Full commitment from all 3 drivers. Line astern going through into the bus stop. 1 hour, 57 minutes and 40 seconds still to go, and Macaulay in the meantime has been putting in the laps, but he's got still a 7-second lead over Hendrickson. Spears not too far behind as we go on board on the main part of the screen, back with John Munro, who has clawed that back, that gap that was 1.7 seconds to what was just over 2.5 tenths. But now he's really closing on Regan Mitchell down the Kemmel Straight, heading into Le Combes. He's going to pull out to the left on the slipstream, and John Clements just up ahead. And that is very, very... Oh, it's the textbook of what Cody Pride tried to do. But Regan Mitchell able to switch it back through the first part of Les Combes before heading into Malmedy. Great effort, though, by John Munro. But then Dean Riley closing up in the 101.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, they've pulled it back to John Clements, because if you remember, he was 3-4 seconds up the road a few laps ago. So they, Munro and Mitchell have managed to claw Clements back into the fray a little bit.
Yeah, very true. As we go back on board with Cody Pride, as this battle now, this is for 4th, 5th and 6th. So Munro still trying to keep, well, and 7th when you count Dean Riley. And I mean, Riley has been doing really, really well to he's not letting them out of his sight. But that's the same with regards now as Pride trying to still close on Martin Pilkington. This is going to be a battle that's really going to be dependent on strategy, not just about the fact that we've seen a fantastic defence from Aaron Martin Pilkington just a lap or 2 ago. It all comes down to who's going to really put the strategy in, and the drivers will be discussing it between themselves in the respective channels about what their strategic plan is going to do. And they're going to have contingency plans as well, aren't they, Steve?
Yeah, definitely. You've got to have contingency plans in a race that's 2.5 hours long with driver swaps. You know, you've got those compulsory swaps to make at some point. You've got the driver stint then to make. As we've seen the Ferrari, Cody Pride really on the backside of that Nissan now, and I would say he's going to try and make Pilkington go defensive into the chicane, but I think Pilkington might have that one covered, and indeed he has. Just needs to keep it pointing in the right direction on the exit, measured right foot, and just keep it going forward, and he does. But Cody Pride is right there in the slipstream again. They're just dropping Haley ever so slightly. It's not a lot, but they just keep dropping him a little bit, and Steve's relying on them to keep battling really and try the overtakes to allow him to keep close to them.
Yep. 1 hour 55 minutes still to go, and at the minute I can count that at least the top 17 have yet to serve their first mandatory pit stop. 3 mandatory pit stops. I was just about to say Gesundheit.
Thank you.
Yes.
But find the mute button fast enough.
I was going to say the push to talk button was definitely out the window there, Steve. But it looks like Glenn Guest has put it into the pits on lap number 16 as, Cody Pride got the measure a bit more there of Aaron Martin Pilkington going through into Les Cornes and then into Malmedy. But Martin Pilkington again showcasing his defensive skills in that Nissan, which is being made as wide as humanly possible.
Yeah, doing some fantastic defending is Aaron Martin Pilkington, a very, very capable driver, and it's good to see that he's just as capable at defending as he is at attacking. And that Nissan is it's a very underused car in ACC, but it's not a slow car as we see down the straights, down the Camel Straight. It's certainly got some horsepower. It maybe just does lack a little bit in the handling area right through the middle sector here. But Cody Pride doing a fantastic job in the Ferrari, and we see Steve Haley's managed to close that gap again in the middle sector. So again, it's another car. The Porsche is struggling just when the other two guys seem to stretch their legs a little bit. They do drop the Porsche a bit.
Yeah. So Darren Pride says nail-biting stuff. We couldn't agree more with that, Darren. Cody doing a fantastic job out there at the minute.
But just look up ahead as well. We've got Clements, who's now less than a second in front of Mitchell, who's less than half a second in front of Munro, who's less than 3/10 in front of Riley, all battling. That's 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th.
Yeah. Riley's in the pits. Riley's just gone into the pits. And Munro closing on Regan Mitchell, looking towards the outside to try and get the switch back. If he timed that, if he had a little bit more poke in that Bentley, I think he might have been able to have gotten up the inside a bit closer. But the run down to Eau Rouge and then up to Hadion, the Bentley just, the Mercedes just is absolutely powerful as heck. As looks like the 53 has made it out, and that will be Ben Guest again behind the wheel in the 53 from Pulse Simsport B. Exiting the pits in 17th. Even Natafas has decided to put in another stint for the THRC team in the number 79 Lexus, currently 18th on the road, as Riley has now put it into the pits. Cody Pride in the pits, Martin Pilkington in the pits, and also we can't forget about the 212 of Paul Lindsay from PC Racing. He's pitted from what was 14th on the road. Well done by them.
Yeah, absolutely great driving the Honda there. He's putting on a good show. He's Paul with that car. But just looking at John Munro now, he's just dropped off Regan Mitchell a little bit, but be looking to close up and attack again as Mitchell's just dropped back from Clements as well. That gap's gone back to over a second now. So they're just sort of to-ing and fro-ing a little bit with the times, these guys now. I'm just wondering if there's a little bit of tyre wear coming in into the issue now.
Yeah, I think you could be right, says Richard Pixley, currently now in 9th place in the number 76 Lost Lexus Racing Lexus RCF GT3, and has got Marion Samol, who's now recovered from that earlier incident. Well, I'm not going to say incident because we really sort of caught the tail end of it. But the sole Jaguar on this field, currently running in P8.
Yeah, just looking, as you said, there's Cody Pride and Pilkington in the pits now, so it'll be interesting to see which one of those comes out in the lead, as Cody Pride is marked as leaving the pits before Pilkington, so he's got that job done. But it just depends. It'll be interesting to see what the gap actually is. Yeah,
and who's going to be next in deciding when they're going to pit, as now Spears has pitted, Clements has pitted, Mitchell has pitted. So the first set of pit stops, 3 mandatory pit stops, all drivers can be behind the wheel, is that that's the sign of cold tyres there from Cody Pride, going through the first part of Les Cornes. A bit too much curb and also grass and dust, and then a bit of AstroTurf going through Malmedy in the run down to Bruxelles. But still, it looks like we're going to go to a replay. And this is Martin Pilkington, Pride and Haley. And this is heading...
Oh, bit of a tag there.
There was that was like literally at 260 kilometers an hour. And Aaron Martin Pilkington is one lucky individual. And it looks like everyone in the top part of the field is pitting. So Hendrickson, Spears, Clements, Mitchell, Haley, Samol, Pixley, Weller, they've all pitted. So
yeah, very, very, very busy pit lane at this moment in time. Just looking at the track map as we go to another replay from Cody Pride's viewpoint on this one. Just see how close he does get to that Nissan, or in fact how much he does touch it. There's absolutely full commitment here, and he's closing. And yeah, it looks like Pilkington just lifted there, and it was the slightest of glances, but it was just enough to push the Nissan into a bit of a spin. But yeah, if anyone's wanting to follow the live timings, there is a link in the chat, and it's for pitwall.live. You can go there and you can see all the live timings, and there is a live track map as well to show you where all the guys are on track at this moment in time.
So lap number 18 with the pit stop phase as well and truly underway. At the moment, Ranjith Kelsey, currently running in P2 in the Ferrari 488 GT3, is behind John Munro in the number 23 Bentley from Sancho Simsport Simply Race. So these two will be eking it out as much as possible. And Aaron on YouTube said if Pride lifted in that spot, he definitely would have lost it. But yeah, that was definitely 1 of one and 500 of the other. It was too close to call. I think we both might be in agreement that might be a bit of a racing incident if there was a little bit of contact between the two.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, I think Pilkington maybe lifted just before the corner, which caused him to, the speed differential, because it was like Cody Pride was closing the gap in the slipstream, but then all of a sudden, bang, he was just literally on him, and it caught Cody Pride by surprise, I think, with the closing rate, and that's what led to that little bit of a tap, and just very, very unfortunate. But I'm sure the stewards will look at it from different angles, and they'll also watch the throttle inputs from the drivers as well, just to try and get an understanding of what did actually happen.
So Ranjith Kelsey pits from P2 as there is Ivan Shamatinsky in the 81 Griphax Engineering Mercedes-Benz, and he's got Harry Spears just up ahead. So Harry Spears looking to further extend, so he might double stack, might be doing a double stint to run to the full 80 minutes or near to the full 80 minutes at this particular moment. So
good to see John Munro's doing his signature strategy and just running as long as he can. Obviously also Kelsey, we know he does that in the Simsport races. As Haley pitted, I'm just looking down now, Haley I believe has pitted as well. So yeah, it's just a couple of guys now up at the front that haven't. First two places are still on, they still need to pit, and Kelsey has now come into the pits.
Yeah, looks like Aaron Walker's taken over the wheel of that 24 Porsche. Currently 7.24 seconds.
That's a Mercedes sideways through.
Shamatinsky. Yep. Oh, lost it big time going. Lost it big time going through Radillon.
Yeah, and I was just going to say that was I don't know if that was a fantastic save or a lucky save, but that'll do. He didn't hit the wall. He managed to. He's probably flat spotted his tyres, but managed to keep it together. As we're seeing, is that Pilkington battling again?
No, that's Kennedy.
Kennedy. Kennedy.
So Matt Kennedy. So that really, so Martin Pilkington has handed over to Matt Kennedy, and there is Shamatinsky. That was I think that was so lucky for the 81, because now that has allowed both McCauley and Spears to get past for second and third, and John Munro, he's running in the 2:18.8s at the minute, but McCauley has now started putting in the fastest sectors. In sector number 3, a 36.648 from the BMW. Munro just around about 0.3 off of that pace. And there is Pixley trying to close on Matt Kennedy for what is effectively 11th position going into Les Combes. So a good run by Parker and Pixley in the number 76 Lexus, with Parker running that car as far up the order as 9th position, having started outside of the top 20 after qualifying. So a great job by these two.
Yeah, fantastic job, and it's it's not always about the guys on the podium. There's some good battling, as we keep saying, throughout the field. As we're seeing Crossland in 25th, obviously we know he had that disconnect, but Charlie's going to keep putting the laps in and try and maybe gain some positions, albeit it's going to be a very difficult task for him this evening. But Charlie will race to the checkered flag, I've no doubt.
Well, he's just put in a 2-minute 18.207, and I think that it. But then the fastest lap of the race has now come from Harry Spears, a 2:17.817. So the fastest lap time currently being set by Mercedes.
Yeah, and that's a decent lap time, as we said before, with race fuel in the 17s. That's some good pace there from the Mercedes, and the right end of the field to be doing it in third spot there, and looking to try and maybe close the gap down a little bit if he can. It's just under 8 seconds at the moment.
Yeah, so there is Regan Mitchell, who stayed behind the wheel of the number 43 Mercedes, and that is the Apex Racing entry, currently running P7, as looks like there has been a change, as Jack Roderick has got behind the wheel of the 118 PSR entry, having taken over from John Clements, who put in the opening stint. So these two battling over 6th position. There looks to be another Aston Martin in the background, I believe, and that is Stin Passpont, currently running 22nd in the 617 Aston Martin from Dan Busters Motorsport. He's currently partnered with Angus Martin, and they're currently running 11th in the championship, so they are outside of the points, and it's the top 20 that do score. Obviously all of results called at the end of this evening's race are provisional, pending any sporting checks by the stewards post race. And Steve, that always brings up a lot of topical discussion, doesn't it, about driving standards?
It does, mate. Yeah, everyone's got an opinion, everyone's got a different point of view, and when we run our stewarding meetings here at Simsport, they are actually an open affair, so guys can join us, they can watch the footage as we watch it, they can listen to what we're saying, and we can sometimes invite them to have a comment, or if they're involved in the incident, we invite them to explain what thought process was going through their mind or what they were trying to achieve. And while we're talking about the drivers, I've just noticed that Steve Haley's dropped into the interview waiting room, so if it's okay with you guys, I'll drop down there and maybe just have a quick chat with him.
Go for it.
Good evening, Steve. Can you hear me?
Hi, mate.
Now then, buddy, you look to be working really hard in the Porsche out there in your opening stint, doing really well to keep it sort of in the top 10, and Aaron's carried on in the same vein. He's still in 9th place and putting on a good show, but yeah, no, I was talking to you before the race, and you weren't expecting things to be easy this evening.
Definitely not. No, we seem to be. I think we are one of 2 Porsches. I think that have entered.
There is 3 on the.
There's 3, right? Yeah. Okay, so we're one of 3 Porsches. I'd have been happy being the first, the top running Porsche, which I think we are. There's a lot of fast guys. I think we're going to be hard pushed to get anywhere near them. So I mean, I think a top 10 finish would be very nice for you. But the first stint was, I wouldn't like to say. Well, I'd like to say steady away, but it was hard work. The first couple of laps were a bit hairy. A couple of incidents in front of us, which gave us a good couple of free places, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, when we were watching you, I think it was the Pilkington and Pride battle, you were sort of hanging on there, and when they were trying to put moves on each other, it was allowing you to sort of keep up with them, but you definitely didn't have any sort of pace to get past them. As we're just seeing on the live feed at the minute, somebody's just gone off into Eau Rouge. I think they've had a helping hand.
No.
But yeah, I mean, is there any what tactics have you got for this evening? Obviously, bearing in mind you very much the underdogs in the Porsche here at Spa tonight. Is it just hot lapping as fast as you can and just see what happens, or?
The plan is not to bin it. I think if you don't bin it in 2.5 hours, I think you'll have a fair result and a fair chance at a top 10 finish. So yeah, I think if Aaron keeps on the same vein I was, I think we'll do fairly well. Pilkington and Cody, I was trying to hang on to the back of them for dear life, but as soon as you hit any kind of a straight, I thought we may have been able to stick with them with a bit of a slipstream, but it's not. It doesn't seem to be that effective, and they're just kind of pulling away. So yeah, it's a bit of a bummer. But I mean, if they got into each other while they was fighting, then that would have been a good result for us, I guess. But yeah, onward and up and see where we go from here.
All right, mate. Well, thank you very much for popping down and having a chat with us. And if you want to do that after your next stint, obviously I don't know if Aaron's not double stinting. That is, you're always welcome to come back down and have another chat, Steve. But thank you very much and good luck for your second stint.
Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you shortly.
Cheers, buddy.
Bye bye.
So yes, what did we miss there on the stream, Alex? I noticed on some contact there just coming up through Eau Rouge, I see, for Regan Mitchell with, that was Roderick's car, I believe.
Yeah, and looks like the Mark Harder Racing 111 is also in the fray, and I think that's got Mark Neusling's just behind the wheel of that one. Yeah, Regan Mitchell has definitely been under the kibosh, so to speak. And that is heading through Malmedy. A bit sideways there from Roderick in the Aston Martin. Mitchell towards the inside, going through into Bruxelles. Let's see if the Mercedes gets one up on the Aston Martin. He's got the tighter line coming out of the corner. But then they're going to be going through into Double Gauche and the Aston Martin back out in front. Run wide from Regan Mitchell. Also a bit of a run wide from Roderick in the Aston Martin there as well. But still, it's been absolutely tooth and nail. Harry Spears is trying to close up the gap to Joe Macaulay, which is now currently 6.865 seconds. But yeah, we've had some really, really good battling all the way up and down the order. Looks like Kennedy trying to close on Johan Pedersen in the Jaguar, and that is for 13th position. And he's got past, and that's through into Les Cormes. Oh, bit sideways there from Kennedy, going through the exit of Les Cormes and into Malmedy, but the Nissan hangs on for the minute.
Yeah, and just jokingly, I was talking to Aaron Martin Pilkington before the race, and he said maybe the fastest way around Spa in the Nissan was to drift it, and his teammate there was looking like he was going to give it a go, but definitely not the fastest way.
Yeah, that's the thing. Considering the fact the road-going version of the GTR is four-wheel drive, not rear-wheel drive as we've got here, but Regan Mitchell trying to close up once again on Roderick, but yeah, that was a really good battle between the pair. There was a little bit of door panel banging as blue flags once again. Cody Pride is getting a little bit closer. You can now see him getting past the 135 McLaren as they go through the bus stop chicane and into the run down to La Source. So I think in many respects that Cody Pride once again will factor in. And in many respects, Cody Pride could really put the cat amongst the pigeons, because we know that there is pace in that Ferrari as he now heads down into Eau Rouge and then up the hill into Radion before the Camel Straight, taking as much curb as is allowed. And that Ferrari looks to be really, really hooked up there, Steve.
Yeah, absolutely. It's looking really good of Cody Pride. They've got a solid 8th place there and looking to move forward somewhat, but yeah, definitely got it hooked up and putting in some good lap times.
So don't forget, if you are enjoying the coverage so far here on the official Simsport Racing YouTube channel, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and also give this video a thumbs up whilst you're at it. And a big thank you to everyone that has been providing their fantastic and very kind comments so far this evening, as Regan Mitchell closes once again on Roderick in the 118 PSR Aston Martin. The gap between them on the last cross across the start-finish line was just under a second, but that gap looks to be less than that in my honest estimation, Steve.
Yeah, it's the old adage, isn't it? He's got him in sight, and he's going to close down, and the gap's going to come tumbling down. And he's on the backside of Roderick now, and he's going to be looking to get into the slipstream, I would say, and potentially put some pressure on Roderick through Goldschmidt and into the chicane, I would imagine.
Right, there has been a change for the lead because Macaulay's back there in the 888, but McGregor has taken over from Monroe in the number 23. Simply Ray Sancho Simsport Bentley. As you can just see the amount of rubber that's being harpooned onto the side of that Aston Martin, as we get another great camera shot as Roderick coming under pressure once again from Mitchell, and this is through the bus stop chicane. Cody Pride is pretty much with them. He's about 1.6 seconds off of Mitchell, but that gap looks to be dropping at every single corner that Ferrari appears to negotiate. Into La Source through the right-hand hairpin, and then down the dip they go, taking as much curb as they dare on the outside before putting the accelerators to the floor. Full commitment and complete and utter bravado as now Roderick goes up into Padillon, takes a little bit of the run-off curbs on the right-hand side, hits the white line on the right-hand side before they head onto the main part of the Kemmel Straight before breaking into Les Combes.
Yeah, and interestingly, he's not having to defend there, is he? He's got the line, and he's got enough gap to take his normal racing line, which is very important because defending does only slow you down.
Yeah, I've just seen that the number 52 Pulse Simsport entry of Miles Dixon, currently in 20th position, is now in the pits. That is their second mandatory pit stop, and now Simon Crane has taken up driving duties as we are just over 3 3/4 minutes away from an hour of this race completed here at Spa-Francorchamps for the halfway point of the Simsport Racing Assetto Corsa Competizione GT3 Driver Swap season. We'll have 2 more rounds. We'll have in just 2 weeks' time, on the 6th of December, we're heading to Mount Panorama, Bathurst, and then on the 20th of December, the final race of this driver swap season will be at Autodromo Nazionale di Monza on the 20th of December. So another 5 hours of flat-out GT3 driver swap action here on Simsport Racing, and the battle between these three still absolutely heated as Roderick still ahead of Mitchell, but look at Cody Pride, he's absolutely flying as now Darren Upton trying to get one up on Simon Crane. Is up the inside of the bus stop chicane goes Cody Pride on Regan Mitchell. Absolutely stole that one like candy from a baby.
Yeah, it was a case of have that, I'm coming through and you can't defend it because you've not even seen me coming sort of thing, isn't it? He really stuck that one to him as we were looking at Crane now and trying to steal the match and defend that position from the Audi behind him.
Yeah, so Upton not giving Crane much room for manoeuvrability, let alone to breathe, I must add, as they're now that's going to be really, really close there.
Yeah, and Crane won't want to lose this position because technically this isn't a battle, as it were, relative to the positions, because obviously Crane they have done that extra pit stop. So they are further up the road technically, but yeah, they're still racing for track position at the moment, but Crane will definitely not want to lose this position. He'll do everything he can to try and pull away from the Audi.
Just to give you a heads up, Charlie Crossland isn't too far behind them, Steve, but he is the first driver out of the entire field to go purple in sector number 2, and he's done literally 9 1,000ths off of going. He's got.
Look at that pace.
Look at that!
He just went round the outside of both of them, past them before the chicane, and he's gone. Now that just shows what sort of pace that lad has got in that car. If only he could just put the whole package together, we have got a future race winner there, right in that car there.
You know what's even funnier? He's just put in the fastest lap. He's gone even faster. Every single one of those sector. A 40.764 was the personal best in sector 1. A 59.949 in sector 2, and then a 36.423. And he put it all together. The fastest lap of the race by Charlie Crossland. Oh, side by side between Crane and Upton, through into Eau Rouge and then into Radion.
I'm not even sure Crane and Upton know they've been overtaken. I don't think they knew that Crossland's gone past them.
I think it was a shadow Team Fordzilla car that just literally went right past them on the inside of Blanchimont there. But a 2-minute 17.136 from Charlie Crossland. So again, Team Fordzilla bringing superlatives from the pair of us on both the season opener at Suzuka and now here at Spa-Francorchamps in more ways than one. And I have to say, for sheer entertainment value, hats off, chapeau to Fabien Buffet and Charlie Crossland from Team Fordzilla. That was epic.
Yeah, and another man doing an epic job has to be said is Rhys Wiggin here. He's taken over from Ranjiv Kelsey in the number 71 Ferrari here. In 12th place, but they are coming under a lot of pressure now from Kennedy in that Nissan, and he's doing really well as Rhys to be in 12th place. He's probably ahead, maybe slightly ahead of where he would have expected to be, but he's doing a fantastic job defending against what is a hard charging Kennedy.
Yep, that's the battle for 12th position as we have just completed just over an hour. 1 hour, 29 minutes and 40 seconds on the clock remaining here in the second round of the ACC GT3 Driver Swap season here live and uninterrupted on the official Simsport Racing YouTube channel. Also, we're on the Simply Race YouTube channel, Virtual Reality Racing Club. Oh, contact between the two, and the Nissan goes off. Kennedy absolutely saved that one. That was really, really close.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great save, but it's just cost him a bit of time now, and he's got it all to do again and to make up. But the most important thing is he's managed to save it, keep it straight and pointing in the right direction now.
Yep. So Cody Pride, in the meantime, has got past not just Mitchell, but he's also got past Jack Roderick in the PSR 118 Aston Martin. So that is a bona fide 6th position for that team. Cody Pride is really going to be having to hand over to his teammates in a short while, and that is going to be quite interesting. How and that's Daniel Sedgley. He will have to see how Sedgley does respond, as there's Roberto Santoro, who's taken over from Marcus Hagel in the number 54. So it's very much the case. Santoro will go up into 15th. There's Lindsay in the pits, and there is Ivan Natafas. Evan Natafas in the number 79. Lexus just behind. This is a battle for position. Natafas really, really holding a candle for the 79 THRC Wild Things team.
Yeah, these two cars haven't been far apart for the whole race, have they? I don't think they've been within sort of a couple of seconds on the tarmac, right from lights out, I believe.
Yeah, Garage Dweller. For those wondering what the colours for the race numbers mean, red is AM, grey is silver, white is pro. So those are the actual rankings, depending on how much time they've spent on the respective servers. And obviously that can also determine the pairings as well, can't it, Steve, depending on the relevant experience on the ACC platform?
Yeah, at the moment on the servers it's automatically done by the sim. We can manually override that and do it ourselves, but on this server we haven't. It's basically, like you say, it's time on the sim and achievement on the sim it's set by.
So Regan Mitchell still sticking in 8th position at the moment, just under 6/10 off of Jack Roderick in the 118 Aston Martin. And Cody Pride trying to get away into the distance. He's already got who was that in front? Was that Shermatinsky? That is Shermatinsky. He was 2.8 seconds ahead of Cody Pride, and Shermatinsky having a massive drama there. That was through into the first part of Double Gauche, I believe, coming out of Bruxelles. So Shermatinsky not having a great race at all. After Hendrickson really had a good start, but then it's all started to unravel for the 81 from Griffax Engineering.
Yeah, they were really setting the pace at the start, and they had good pace, decent qualifying, decent race pace, battling at the sharp end, and he just seems to have dropped down the order somewhat in quick succession in the last few laps. Really, he's a couple of mistakes have cost him dearly, and now we can see him there in 8th place, 6 seconds behind Regan Mitchell in 7th. So he'll be disappointed with this stint and be looking to build on it and go forward from where he is now.
So with 1 hour 26 minutes still remaining on the clock here at Spa-Francorchamps. Joe McCauley on lap number 28 has a current lead of 5.149 seconds ahead of Harry Spears in the Team Ford Ziller & Co 185 Mercedes. But I've noticed, Steve, that Spears is catching. Spears is going quicker by about 0.6 of a second ahead of that BMW.
Yeah, he's been sort of putting in some quicker laps, right from the off, as it were, and that gap is coming down. We're starting to see a few people make pit stops. Sherman Tinsky's making his pit stop. Maybe he's flat spotted those tyres. Maybe he's got some damage, but we can just see that Walker and Haley have pitted. I'm not quite sure who's coming back out, whether it's still Walker in the car. It's showing as Walker on the leaderboard, so maybe he's doing a double stint and Steve Haley's going to finish it off, but that's them with just one more pit stop to go.
So Roderick coming under salvo fire from Regan Mitchell, who's trying to fire the warning shot across the bow of the number 118 Aston Martin as they now head their way down into Bruxelles. Heftily on the brakes goes Regan Mitchell. So it's a right-hand hairpin into the left and then into the double left at double gauche as they fast descend down the circuit. And then next up will be Le Fagne and then into Campus before the right-hander at Stavelot. So very, very fast parts of the circuit here at Spa-Francorchamps, as you may have seen by the hot lap at the earlier part of the broadcast before we went into timed qualifying. But Regan Mitchell keeping Jack Roderick very honest here, Steve.
He is. He's keeping him very honest, and it's obvious that the Mercedes of Mitchell has got the lap times on Roderick. He could go quicker if he could get in front, but that's a big but. He can't. Roderick's defending well. He's just keeping to his line. He's sticking. He's driving consistently. He's not leaving any room for Mitchell to make a move, and Mitchell's not quite close enough to force a move. But Mitchell is a very experienced driver, and he will keep that pressure on, and he'll drive as close as he dare, and hopefully force a mistake from Roderick.
Or unless he's going to try and make a gap for himself, which he nearly tried to do there going into the bus stop chicane. Kennedy and Shermatinsky both in the pits, currently 13th and 12th respectively, as both Mitchell and Roderick make their way down towards La Source. And looking rather interesting indeed. 29, we're on to lap number 29, and looks like McCauley has responded to Harry Spears, put in a 2 minutes 17.796. That was nearly 0.3 of a second quicker than the 185 Mercedes. Riley, McGregor, Pride, Roderick, Mitchell, who's on your screens at the moment going through Eau Rouge, currently rounding out the top 7 positions. Then it's Pixley, Gayler, Wiggin, Pedersen, Santoro, Natafas up into 13th place. So great work by Evan Natafas with Shermatinsky and Kennedy still in the pits at the moment, showing their second mandatory pit stop out of 3. Walker, Dorazio, Lindsay, Upton, Crane, Wood, Passpont and Yevremovic rounding out the top 23 drivers out of 28. Still currently, and at the moment, obviously we've had some retirements. Obviously, we have had an issue with the Simbro Sport 119 of Jeffrey Wolf and Gerard Debar having that incident earlier on in the race on the Camel Straight, which took them out. But then also, looks like the last circulating car, we still have 26 cars circulating. Looks like Martin Neuteling's currently sitting in 26th position in the Marcada Racing 111 Honda NSX GT3. But Regan Mitchell still trying his utmost, no matter what he tries to throw at Jack Roderick. Roderick seems to always have that block and counter attack in his back pocket, doesn't he?
He absolutely does, yeah. Just he's, like I said, he's just driving his lines. He's not making any room for Mitchell, and Mitchell's not close enough, as you said, to try and maybe force a gap and make a move. He's just far enough back to keep a watching brief, keep the pressure on. I mean, at the end of the day, they've still got 1 hour 20 minutes, so Regan doesn't want to be doing anything silly or anything rash. He wants to hand that car over in the best condition he possibly can, as high up the field as he possibly can when Chris Pinchbeck takes over in what I would imagine won't be too far away now. But he's doing a fantastic job there just to keep tracking Roderick, and he's close enough to pounce if Roderick does make a mistake.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting to that sort of real sort of window because obviously we'll when we hit 1 hour and 20 minutes remaining, the drivers that have been doing the first double stint of the race will have been in the cars for 70 minutes. So by 1 hour 10 minutes still to go, they will need to be out of those cars, because otherwise they will get a prompt disqualification post race. So Macaulay and Parker from Coach Dave Academy currently leading still, but it's about 4.7 seconds ahead of Harry Spears. Those will be the two teams really battling for the outright victory, whereas it's between Riley and McGregor. You can see how close they are at the moment. So Riley is going to have to pull it into the pits, and that will allow McGregor to get ahead in the number 23 Bentley Continental GT. Pride's been running well. He'll have to hand over the car to his teammate in the number 30 in the number 33. There's Simon Crane in the Pulse Simsport number 52. He's started to pull away from Wood in the number 120 Audi by a little bit of a distance. So now we're getting into that sort of like that crunch time, Steve. So we've got 1 hour and 20 minutes still to go. But it's now that those drivers that have really stuck it out and kept, they've done the groundwork, and now it's up to the other driver to take over the mantle and run with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I tell you what else we're potentially coming into the time of the race for is track limit penalties. The lads have been going for sort of over an hour now, and potentially the ones that are adding up the track cuts, because we've seen quite a few drivers running wide. If they've had warnings, we will start to see a few cars issued with drive-through penalties. So that's another one to watch for, which, as we said right at the top of the show, drive-through penalty at Spa is an absolute killer for your race pace, because obviously it's so much time lost in that pit lane.
And then also another thing, if one of the drivers speeds in the pit lane, it's a stop-go 30 added to your time as well. So that could be double drama for a team that is battling for like maybe say a top 10 finish, maybe even say the race victory. So it can happen to even the best of those sim racers out there, that you make a mistake in the pits, it can turn your race upside down quicker than you can say the word jump.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And it's not how we want to see races sort of won and lost in the pit lane, as it were, but it's all part of the real world of racing. It happens, and it's the track limits are there to be obeyed, and if they don't obey them, then they will get the drive-through. Just like the speed limit in the pit lane, they've got to obey it. They can't gain an advantage from going faster. But looking at Roderick and Mitchell now going through Eau Rouge, they're absolutely flat out, and the cars are right on the very edge as if they came through Radion there, now down the Camel Straight, just absolutely flat out. And Roderick's weaving because he knows Mitchell's in his slipstream and just trying to steal a march on him into the braking zone, but not close enough. And to be honest, if I was Roderick now, I mean, maybe because I know Regan Mitchell a bit better than Roderick does, I think he just needs to keep driving his lines. He needs to look at putting in the fastest times he can. Regan won't do anything silly. He's not going to try dive. He's not going to make a last-minute lunge, as it were, not unless Roderick makes a mistake. So Roderick just needs to focus on his driving line and what he's doing.
Yeah, so what we will find is that now, for some strange reason, noted, I was just about to say that Macaulay was being caught by Spears hand over fist. The gap was under 4 seconds. Now Spears has had a bit of a drama, I believe, and that was that gap extended to over 10 seconds. So I'm not too sure what happened, but Spears was catching. He was, in some respects, he's just pulled it into the pits. So I think whether he's decided that now his time is up. I mean, he'll have been behind the wheel of that car for over 73 minutes. And now he's going to have to hand that over to Jordan Burrows, who will have to do pretty much the remainder of the race, because they're at that optimum. You can still run. It's 150 minutes. You can run 75 minutes apiece, including your pit stop. So, now it's the time for Jordan Burrows to try and see if he can pull that flanker to make Coach Dave Academy to react. To bring in, as there goes, that was Regan Mitchell, I think, has just started into the pits. Cody Pride is in the pits as well. So Roderick now promoted into 5th place. So I think it's now, I'm wondering if the 185 from Team Ford Ziller & Co is trying to do the undercut on Macaulay and Parker from Coach Dave Academy here, Steve.
Yeah, maybe so. I mean, it's definitely possible. They've got a bit of time to make up. It's got to be one hell of a that time, and I think, to be honest, Macaulay's it's been a measured drive. He's not been pushing as hard as maybe he's got a little bit left in the tank, I suppose, is what I'm trying to say. I think he could have gone a little bit faster, as we did see him respond a couple of times when it looked like the gap was getting smaller. But I think Macaulay and Parker will just, that they've got this one in the bag. It's a little bit early to say that with 1 hour 15 to go, but it's certainly their race to lose.
Yeah, I've just noticed the drive-through. You said about track limits. Evan Natafas has just been hit with one, I think, in the number 79. Oh, that's a real shame for them, because that's, they've both Evan and Denise finished 16th last time out at Suzuka. So that's going to be a drive-through having to be served by that Lexus. But one of the things is, you can't obviously, this is just from me being a very green when it comes to sim racing. When you have a drive-through, it is a drive-through. You cannot stop in your box, and if you want to change drivers, you have to go around and have another lap before you make that change, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. You do not enter your pit box on a drive-through. You just literally drive down the pit lane at the pit lane speed limit, and you cannot go into your pit box. So yeah, quite right. They have to go do the drive-through, and then they would have to enter the pits again to go into the pit box to do the driver swap. Okay,
so Jordan Burroughs now has taken the wheel of the 185 Mercedes from Harry Spears, and Ross McGregor now battling tooth and nail with Dean Riley in the 101. Up the inside goes the Bentley through La Source, and that was definitely one way to make your opponent literally whack on the anchors at a moment's notice.
He made him stop and look, I think, didn't he? I don't think really he expected the Bentley to stick that tight to the inside, and it was a fantastic move there from McGregor, and it's gained him that position, so well done.
And by Dean Riley stopping as he did right on the apex, on the outside of the apex, that gave Ross McGregor a bit of breathing space as well. So it's looking to be a rather interesting last hour and 13 minutes and 40 seconds of this race. So Natafas is serving the drive-through, and then we'll have to quickly get around to hand over that car to Denise Pope before Natafas's driver time gets exceeded, which we don't wish on any competitor. There's Rhys Wiggin paired with Ranjiv Kalsi in the number 71, and he's right with Jordan Burroughs, but Wiggin and Kalsi still have another pit stop in addition to do, as Pixley pits from P5 in the number 76 Lexus. A great effort from Pixley and Parker so far in this race.
Yeah, if you remember Pixley and Parker in our last GT3 season, they were paired up in the Jags and always gave it their all in the Jags, albeit they didn't have the best of finishes in that car, but great to see him having a good race in the Lexus tonight.
Yes, indeed. So Macaulay now pits with about 2.5 minutes to go before he would have actually exceeded his driver time of 80 minutes. There's Daniel Wood in the 120, and that is the PSR 120 Aston Martin. Currently running in 20th position. Looks like Upton in the 21 has pitted. Paul Lindsay in the 212 PC Racing Honda has now pitted. There's Matt Densham, who's taken over from Niall Schleter in the Phantom Sim Racing 36 Porsche. Currently running in P24 behind Jevremovic from Racing Team Serbia. There is William Hendrickson, who's now taken back the wheel of the number 81 Griphax Engineering Mercedes from Ivan Shermatinsky. Riley now in the pits from P3. So a lot of changes happening up and down the order as we get into that last minute and 40 before we find... We're trying to keep tabs on who's been in the cars for the double stints, as now Johan Pedersen has taken over from Marion Samol in the 37 Jaguar, and there is James Parker now exiting the pit lane. He has now got the work to do in the next 71 minutes and 24 seconds, and Ross McGregor becomes de facto leader on lap number 34.
Yeah, and Regan Mitchell swapped over to Chris Pinchbeck, who's rejoined in 9th place, but they're on track battle with Roderick. He's still not pitted yet, and he's in 4th. So it'll be interesting to see if the undercut works for Pinchbeck and Mitchell on Clements and Roderick. We'll see very soon, I would imagine, as Roderick is in the pits now.
Yeah, so it is all a case of who is going to be the one that really puts the strategy to its absolute optimum at the moment. Now, that's a really good change for Mitchell to now hand over to Chris Pinchbeck as we fast approach the last 70 minutes of this race. And again, the conditions look to be staying the same. It's been pretty much dry all race as Pinchbeck trying to get those tyres up to temperature in the 43 Mercedes, which has exited out of the pits onto what is now P9. So a little bit of work from a few drivers still to do in this race, as we still will have drivers looking to make their final pit stop ahead of what will be a grandstand finale here at Spa-Francorchamps, Steve.
Yeah, it will indeed, and it's going to be exciting to see it come down to the final sort of 10-15 minutes and see how it's all sort of shaking out. But I have to say, Regan Mitchell did a fantastic driving stint there in the first two stints to put Chris Pinchbeck in a reasonable position with a car in pretty much as good a condition as it could be after 75 minutes of racing. So let's just see what Chris can do now, see if he can capitalise on what he's been given, and see where he comes out against Roderick, and see Roderick showing in 7th place, but we know that when they exit the pits it has to shake out a little bit, and indeed it's just doing that now. So if we give it a few seconds, we will get a true reflection of what the gap is.
Well, looks like Evan Natafas is handing over to Denise Pope in the number 79 Lexus, as Johan Pedersen currently running in P5 and is just up behind Reese Wiggin. So this is going to be a brilliant battle. The pair were just over half a second apart, just under half a second apart. So I've just noticed that Paul Lindsay has said, Eau Rouge just gave me a random death. He said threw the front end up in the air and he got 47 seconds of damage. That's not really good for the C12, which Chris Bowman is now piloting at the minute. Currently running at the top 20 do score points towards the championship permutations. And there is Chris Bowman. He's going to come across the line. And Johan Pedersen still trying to close on Reese Wiggin. And that is through Blanchimont, the Jaguar closing on Ferrari. Oh, that was cheeky. Up the inside goes Johan Pedersen through the first part of the bus stop and gets the inside run, as now that is that Wiggin going back in? That's Wiggin in the pits again.
Yeah, it's Wiggin in the pits. They'll end up just having one more stop to do, so that's pretty much... it's about right, is that, to be fair. It'll be interesting to see whether he's handing over to Kelsey, because I know Kelsey started the race, so those guys haven't double stinted, so it'll be interesting to see who comes back out in it.
Same could be said for Griffax Engineering, as William Hendrickson now closing on the number 626 of Aaron Martin Pilkington. So it looks like these two teams have also done the same as the number 71 Midlands Triple R Ferrari entry in the 71. So it's still all to play for, with just 1 hour, 7 minutes and 40 seconds still to go. And Hendrickson at the minute trying to close on that Nissan, and last lap around, I've just seen that Martin Pilkington did a 2-minute 19.3, Hendrickson a 2:17.856. So I think those tyres on that Nissan are not quite up to temperature, but Hendrickson has had a few more laps on that rubber, and just behind him, look, they've got the leader not too far behind. So the blue flags will wave, allowing Coach Dave Academy's James Parker to get past and try and get away into the distance.
Yeah, pretty much lapping half the field, which is pretty impressive in its own. But yeah, these two guys are battling hard. So we're just going to nip to a replay now up through Eau Rouge.
Oh, this is the moment. Yeah, the front end went up. Oh, bang. The right rear corner goes into the wall twice for Paul Lindsay. Yeah, the front end just literally lifted up to about where the top of the windscreen would normally be. And then it just sent Honda NSX spinning. Coming up through Radillon. So
yeah,
Hendrickson,
just a bit of a lack of front downforce there on that Honda by the looks of that. But yeah, it's back to Hendrickson now, and it's Aaron Martin Pilkington, as you say, back in the Nissan and charging hard and looking to try and close up on Hendrickson and maybe get a move done, as we've seen Rhys Wiggins still in the pits. That's quite a long pit stop.
Yeah, I'm wondering if, because this is their final pit stop, whether they're going to overfuel the car just to make sure they get to the end. Now there is the car coming down the pit lane, and then they've got the number 11 of Jevremovic just ahead. 50 kilometers per hour is the speed limit at Spa-Francorchamps, and then as soon as that happens, Ranjiv Kalsi.
Yeah, it's Rhys Wiggins. They had 2 stops to make before they went into the pits there, so that's one. They've got one more stop to make. I'm not quite sure. I do think that pit stop was longer than normal. Maybe I'm wrong. I didn't have a stopwatch on it, but it just seemed to be a long pit stop. But indeed, it's Rhys Wiggins coming back out, and they've filtered into P15 with one more stop to make. Like the majority of the field, there are a few drivers still needing to make 2 stops, but most of the field have got 1 left.
So it looks like it was 10 seconds longer for that pit stop, as Johan Pedersen is in the pits in the number 37 Jaguar, as now James Parker is trying to get past Aaron Martin Pilkington. Ross McGregor still leads the way in the Bentley. So effectively, now the lights are flashing on the front of Parker's car. Martin Pilkington lets him through. So I think it was just Martin Pilkington trying to wait for the right opportune moment to get past, as Aaron Walker now closing on the back bumper of Daniel Parker in the number 76 Lexus. That's going through La Source. Now down into Eau Rouge and Radiant. Looks like there's another car that is Pedersen into the pits. So it's a very, very long pit stop, because they actually have to go round the corner to get to the pits here at Spa-Francorchamps. And that is the traditional way it happens in GT racing, whereas the main, just off the bus stop chicane itself, the main pit complex is actually normally used for Formula 1, if memory serves me correctly, Steve.
Indeed it is, and I was just watching Walker in the Porsche up through Eau Rouge, and that Porsche looks really scary. It looks very loose, as Aaron was trying to sort of ride over the curbs, and it just shook its head at the front end, as almost like it was on the verge of letting go. And I think that Porsche is really on a knife edge for those guys tonight, and it's probably nerves of steel required to drive that car, I think.
Yeah, and big cojones too. Well, I mean, we said the same thing about it at Suzuka when we had that torrential downpour, and both Aaron and Steve had major sideways moments at certain parts on the circuit. But you know, it's a car that is known for being rather aggressive, and especially when you have fast-flowing corners like you do here at Spa-Francorchamps. As Parker takes a little bit too much curb there, as Walker's still trying to make it. He's trying to go the smooth route with the Porsche. He's not trying to make it sort of try and go, push it too hard, because he knows that he could overcompensate, and then that causes the back end to step out on the Porsche. You could just see how measured he was trying to get past Daniel Parker and into the next corner. There's a now Chris Bowman has just got a drive through. I think that's for track limits. They're starting to creep in now, aren't they, Steve? And there was that was the 120 of Wood, I think, that was just in front of them in the Aston Martin, that literally Daniel Parker had cat-like reflexes on, and Aaron Walker was he gave Daniel enough room to make it past, and that's good sportsmanship there.
Yeah, we've got some fantastic drivers on the grid, but Steve and Aaron are a fantastic team, because they're both very, very skilled drivers, fantastic racecraft. They will give racing room, they will take their advantages. We see Aaron there just take advantage of Daniel Parker running wide into T1, into La Source, and he's got that job done. Be interesting to see if he can keep it now, as we watch the nervous Porsche through Eau Rouge, and see if he can keep that Lexus behind him down the Camel Straight. But yeah, Aaron and Steve are both, they don't sort of try and take risky moves. They will contemplate what they're going to do, they'll work things out, and they'll take their opportunities as they're presented.
Yeah, So the drivers still pushing like crazy as we fast approach the golden hour, the final hour of this race. There's Dean Allen in the number 21 Audi, and it's just running behind Denise Pope in the number 79. So she's had to pick up where Evan Natafas started things off, and with the THRC Wild Things pairing, they were up as high as 13th on the road. And I have to give credit where credit is due. Credit is due here, Steve. Both Denise and Evan have done a really, really good job so far, not just in the GT3 side of our community, but also they've both been running in the GT4 season as well.
Yeah, they are new additions to the Simsport community, and very welcome additions as well. Both turn up week in, week out to race, and sort of put on a good show for everybody and get involved with the community and put in some good performances with the racing. If it wasn't for that drive through, it would be nice to see them battling at the sharp end of the sort of top 20, get up into 13th, 12th position. And I mean, first of all, I think they just need to try and beat their finishing position at the last round at Suzuka, and if they can do that tonight, it'll be great.
Yeah, their finishing position last time out at Suzuka was 16th, and that is their current position in the standings with 25 points, as Harry Gaylor now closing on the back bumper of Daniel Parker. So that is the Pulse Simsport B Mercedes that is now closing on the Lost Lexus Racing number 76 as we go on board on the main camera. On the left-hand, a little bit of a moment there for Denise Pope, but she now puts it back into reverse and will get back onto the circuit as Wood in the 120 Aston Martin has now pitted. So Denise Pope unfortunately drops outside of the top 20, but it won't be for long because Chris Bowman has a drive-through penalty to serve.
Yeah, and it's good to see that she was sort of being sensible about how she rejoined Denise there as well. She wasn't just jumping back into the middle of the track. She certainly came on and considered the drivers around you, so that's always good to see, because that's a big part of the racing etiquette as well. It's all too busy to forget these things in the heat of the moment, but yeah, well done to Denise.
So Ross McGregor on lap number 38 has pitted from the lead as Harry Gaylor still trying to find his way past Daniel Parker as they're now heading down the hill, and that looks to be in Bruxelles, but Gaylor was close enough, and they're going to go into the left-hander, which will then take them down into Double Gauche. So Gaylor right on the back bumper of the Lexus, so they're going to have a bit of a run down, and he looks to get towards the inside. No, not that time. Parker still keeps ahead, so it's one left and then it's another. And then before the right-hander at Lifagne, which is a right-left combination. So Gaylor still trying to keep the Lexus very, very honest indeed. So into the right and then into the left. Looking for the switchback is Harry Gaylor, but not able to get past before the next right at Campus, before the next one at Stavolo. And just behind them is the number 66 of Team Fordzilla's Fabien Piffet, who's been running in the 2:18.4s at the moment. So pretty good pace for both him and also Charlie Crossland, despite the dramas that they've had so far.
Yeah, so we're just looking at the sharp end of the field, Alex. We've got Parker leading from Burrows in second, but Munro up into third, albeit 22 seconds behind Burrows, but in a safe third place because we've got Rich Smith now in that car that he shares with Dean Riley in fourth place, 8 seconds behind Munro. So it'll be interesting to see what Rich Smith can do, because if you remember Dean Riley, I think double stinted, so Rich will be in that car to the end now, so it'll be interesting to see if he can close that gap on Munro, which with Munro's pace, that's going to be a big task, I think.
A very, very big mountain to climb as well, so it's going to be quite interesting to see, and you can just see how quick Fabien Piffet, this is his second event with us here at Simsport Racing as teammates of Charlie Crossland, and out of all the drivers, I'm just looking at the lap times, he's one of the quickest out there. Parker's running in the 2:18.0s. Piffet's just done a 2:18.6, 2:18.7 from Burrows, as there goes Harry Gaylor around the outside into the entrance into Le Gomme on Parker. That was a hell of a move there, well committed, and that was really, really good.
Yeah, fantastic. I mean, he made his mind up to carry that move out, and Parker sort of defended as much as he could, but he wasn't silly with his defence. He realised when the position was lost and just let it go, sort of thing. Now, hopefully, he'll just realise that the Fordzilla car behind him is just unlapping itself. It's not for position, and maybe he'll just realise that and let it go before he gets tangled up with it.
Oh, that was a bit close there. Piffet was looking to the inside of Parker, and Parker very reluctant to let him get past. But with the pace that team now, Piffet just absolutely sends it. Very, very textbook from Fabien Piffet, nickname of 7. He's one of the drivers that have really come into their own here in Simsport Racing, as Bowman now serves that drive-through penalty after the track limits infringement. Tim Weller in the 120 Aston Martin, running in the slate matte grey colours of R Motorsports, currently running in P22 at the moment, behind Angus Martin, and they are literally lying astern at the moment. Stin has just commented on YouTube. He says, hi, Stin from Car 617. Angus is driving now. We were running P11 but got sent to the shadow ramp. Are you trying to take a leaf out of Jimmy Broadbent and Super GT's book there by saying the shadow realm at approximately 7,000 miles an hour? That's an overstatement and a half. Lots of repairs and running P20 now. Just want to finish. Well, that's the best way to be. It's just have that motivation to get to the finish line.
That's the attitude we want. That's the attitude we like. Just keep racing, keep going. There's a couple of guys in the same position as you. Just keep it as track time. It's practice. You're going to get some battles. You're going to get some racing, and it's just good practice for the next round at Bathurst.
Yeah, which happens in 2 weeks' time, and then we have the season finale at Monza on the 20th of December. So 54 minutes and 20 seconds still to go, and at the moment it is Parker for Coach Dave Academy leading the way in the 888. Then it is Burrows for the 185 Mercedes, John Munro in third place, followed by Rich Smith. Then it is Sedgley, Clements, Pinchbeck, Walker, Gaylor, Parker, Hendrickson, Martin Pilkington, Samol, Kelsey and Hagel rounding out the top 15 positions. And still it is anyone's guess. The gap between Burrows and Munro now is around about 22 seconds, but it's nearly a 24.5 second or so lead between Parker and Burrows, with a lot of the drivers, pretty much the entire field now, having one more mandatory pit stop to take before we have the race to the checkered flag here at Spa-Francorchamps.
Yeah, we can expect to start seeing some of those pit stops very, very soon. I would say in the next 5 minutes or so, we will see some drivers coming in to do that final stop. And then just race to the checkered flag, and we'll see how the leaderboard starts to really shake itself out with the positions that the guys are in. Don't discount a few more drive-throughs before the end of the evening as well, which might just shake it up a little bit. Just looking down there, we've got Pope in 19th place, so she's sort of recovered into the top 20 still. Would like to see her get up another sort of, like say, to 16th at least to match her last time out position. Piffet's in 23rd, so they're not last anymore after having a disconnect and going 3 laps down. So they're making up some ground, but albeit they're just here for the practice now.
And we're now on board with James Parker from Coach Dave Academy. Up the gears, up second, up to third, now up to fourth, pushing close to just over 130 miles an hour, down into what is going to be first gear, 40 miles an hour on the apex. Down the hill goes the BMW 888. Now we're going to see the full commitment. Let's just keep on board with James Parker at the moment. Fifth gear, 154, 155, a little bit of a lift through into Radillon. Now extending that throttle all the way down to the floor, up to sixth gear. Just nearly hitting 6,000 RPM, 165 on the speedometer. And then it'll be down the gears very, very quickly indeed. Down to second, around 75 miles an hour, through into the right-left at Les Combes. And then it looks like there's been a drive-through for track limits for the number 52. That is the Pulse Simsport entry, the leading one, and that's Miles Dixon and Simon Crane I think that might still have Simon Crane behind the wheel of that one. So just shows by that onboard with James Parker from Coach Dave Academy how committed you really are in a GT3 car at Eau Rouge and Radillon, Steve.
Yeah, and he's showing you a good example of how to use all of the track without going over the limits. He's running up the curbs where he can. He's hitting his apex. He's running out wide there, albeit with two wheels still on the track. And we'll see here again, he'll be turning in now and running up the curb slightly on the inside, on the right, and then onto the same on the left. Just run up that curb a little bit, and then running out really wide to the right-hand side. Just absolutely fantastic use of the track, perfect apexes and perfect racing line, to get extracting the best lap times.
So again, the order will be changed at the bottom part of the top 20, as Crane will have 3 laps to serve that drive-through penalty. That could help the likes of DeLuca, Allen and Pope move a little bit further up, maybe by at least a position, as Pope has got nearly 28 seconds between herself and the number 21 entry, and that is the Audi of Dean Allen, and Darrell Upton, with Allen currently behind the wheel, as we will now go on to lap number 43. Gianluca DeLuca now trying to close on Simon Crane, and that's going through Eau Rouge and Radillon, and DeLuca trying to keep in the slipstream of the Mercedes, as we now hit 50 minutes on the clock to go here at Spa-Francorchamps.
Yeah, Pilkington's in the pits now and doing his final pit stop, so he's the first one to clear all his pit stops, and he'll be coming back out to race to the checkered flag. And we'll see how that shakes out for him, see if he manages to close any time on the guys in front. Yeah,
Ross McGregor, are you starting to bring out a rap band called the Bentley Boys? According, he said P2 by the end for the Bentley Boys, question mark, exclamation point. Well, I'll just wait for you and John Monroe to pull your finger out then. So we'll wait and see on that one, but there is still plenty of this race still to go. But John Monroe, the last couple of laps ago, Steve, has actually closed the gap by about a couple of seconds on Jordan Burroughs, hasn't he?
He has indeed, and we know, like we said, Ross McGregor, John Monroe, they're not a slow team at all. They can put the lap times in consistently. They can make that Bentley work for them, and don't count out the second position for them, albeit I think it's a tall order. It's going to be difficult because that top 3 certainly, they're all pretty quick, and they're sort of 21 seconds back, so that's a lot of time to make up. But never say never.
Yeah, thank you very much for the witty, respective comeback there. Ross, he says, yeah, I have noticed that John is running consecutively in the high 217s at the moment. He says, yeah, John has got his finger fully pulled out. He said, low fuel to the end. Well, that's brave, especially in a Bentley. But you want to make sure that you got enough fuel to get to the line without running out, as Gianluca DeLuca closes once again on Simon Crane. And Crane, I think, still has, as there is the first green marker, and that is the total performance team of Martin Pilkington and Kennedy that have now got the green against the amount of pit stops. So with 48 minutes still remaining on the clock, who is going to blink first to serve their mandatory pit stops, and who have really decided to extend that stint out to the absolute maximum and come in for a splash and dash right at the very end?
Yeah, it's a difficult one with the conditions being optimum, dry track, decent temperatures. It's not like the last time out where we had the rain and the track conditions were changing. The track conditions are what they are. So basically it's just a case of get those pit stops out of the way. If you're battling like these guys are and you're the one that's stuck behind the other guy, then maybe it's time to pit before he does and try and do the undercut. That's about the only advantage you're going to gain. It's not down. There's no conditions to consider this time. They are what they are, and they've been the same right from the start tonight.
Yep, so we were on board there with Weller in the 120, just having got past Angus Martin in the 617 Dam Busters Aston Martin. And Martin trying to go towards the inside, not on that particular occasion. So it's Aston Martin versus Aston Martin. And this is for 20th position on the road, as Matt Kennedy looks to have taken the final stint for the 626 total performance Nissan. currently running in P15 at the moment. So with just over 46.5 minutes remaining, James Parker from Coach Dave Academy leads ahead of the team Fordzilla & Co. 185. Mercedes of Harry Spears and Jordan Burrows, with the latter being in the car at the moment. Then also you have the Bentley Continental GT3 of the pairing of John Munro, who's currently in the car, and Ross McGregor, his teammate. They're currently P3 in the Simply Race Zansho Simsport 1 in the 23. Then it is Rich Smith in the 101 Team Vodafone Mercedes, partnered with Dean Riley. Then it is the number 33, and that is of the EXR Esports pairing in the Ferrari 488 GT3. We've got Daniel Sedgley currently behind the wheel, and Cody Pride, his teammate. Then it is Clements for the 118 PSR Aston Martin, Chris Pinchbeck in the Apex Racing 43 Mercedes, Aaron Walker in the Simply Race 24 Porsche. Then it is Hendrickson in the 81 Griphax Engineering Mercedes, and then Harry Gaylor in the Pulse Simsport B53 Mercedes AMG GT3, rounding out the top 10 as Matt Kennedy trying to close in what is effectively a big mountain to climb, with about 17.8 seconds between himself and the Pulse Simsport C entry, the Porsche, driven currently with Marcus Hager behind the wheel.
Yeah, some interesting names there in that top 10 that you read out there. Aaron Walker's made another position up, and he's sort of dragged that Porsche up to 8th place at the moment, which is in front of Hendrickson, albeit 4.5 seconds back. And I think Hendrickson is lapping a bit faster than Walker, so he's closing that gap ever so slightly. But we're going to look forward to some interesting battles in what is the last 44 minutes and 45 seconds. So expect to see a few of these guys coming into the pits very soon to do the final pit stop. And the drivers that need to change will be driving over for the last, swapping over, for the last time.
Yeah, and then you'll see drivers such as James Parker, Jordan Burrows, who will not be swapping over, but then you'll probably find that Steve Haley will probably end up in the 24 Simply Race Porsche for the final stint, because both he and Aaron have been swapping stints behind the wheel, so they've been doing single stints, whereas people such as Joe McCauley, Harry Spears have done the first couple of stints, and you can see that white, blue and orange Mercedes paint job has now got quite a few bug splatterings on the front of it, a bit dirtier than what it was when we went racing just over an hour and 3/4 ago.
Yeah, absolutely. There's the sunshine has brought the bugs out, and the warmer temperatures, and they're making a mess of the paintwork, but that's not slowing these guys down. They're putting the lap times in, and albeit Burrows is losing ground to Parker. He's 23 seconds back, nearly 24. But he's just consolidating that second place, and he's in a pretty lonely second place, really, because Munro's another he's another 20 seconds back, I believe, from memory at 19.4. So it'll be down to Rich Smith see if he can catch up with Munro, but I think he's a fair way back as well.
Yeah, P4 has been running in the 2:18.6s, and that is a considerable amount more. A lot quicker than, say, Chris Bowman just up ahead. So Fabien Piffet looking to push that number 66 Team Fordzilla Mercedes towards the top half of the final part of the top 25. Currently running in P23. So it looks like Hendrickson has now decided to put discretion as the better part of valor, and has now decided to pit with just over 42.5 minutes remaining. But Piffet has absolutely been flying in the 66 as there we go on board with Rich Smith, and that is on the 101 Team Vodafone Mercedes AMG GT3, currently rounding out the top 4, 13.3 seconds behind John Munro in the Simply Race Zansho Simsport Bentley, currently still occupying the top 3. And that is positioned on the rear splitter. That's actually on the rear bumper going through, and that's on the left rear quarter of the car.
It's well buried, isn't it? It's well buried.
Yeah, the thing is that most I think at the end of the day, the amount of times that I got sort of, I think I got pulled up on it last time, didn't I? When I went, oh yeah, that looks like the front grille. No, it wasn't. It was something completely different. But you can just see, yeah, it was the Maserati that threw me a curveball in GT4. But you can just see the amount of aero that is on these cars, and then you just see the big, huge diffusers on the back end of them. These cars are absolutely low and slung down towards the tarmac as much as humanly possible, but also in some respects that helps a lot of the hot air from the brakes and the tyres actually exit out, and it helps with regards to the aerodynamic efficiency on these cars.
Yeah, absolutely. It allows the drivers to achieve some fantastic cornering speeds, but it also, when they get a little bit of damage here and there and the aero is affected, it just goes to show how loose these cars can become very quickly. And they aren't easy things to drive, because you are driving them right on the edges. Any race car is driven, it's driven to the edge of its life and a little bit beyond to get the most out of it. And most of these drivers on this server, if not all of them, are doing a fantastic job of that tonight, and putting on a good show for us all, and some fantastic battling. We've seen some brilliant overtakes, we've seen some fantastic defences, and we've got another 40 minutes to go yet, so I'm expecting to see a little bit more before we finish tonight.
Yeah, and just keeping an eye on lap times that are happening around with these drivers at the moment. So at the minute, James Parker is running in the 218s, low 218s, as is John Munro. But then you look all the way down, 23rd position, Fabien Piffet, who we saw on the screen earlier. He's still currently running in P23 at the moment. Has put in a 218.5. Bowman currently running in the... This is weird. I've just seen a 242 from Chris Bowman. So whether he's had some dramas. So Fabien Piffet could look to... I think just the way he's absolutely scything time out of Chris Bowman, I'm wondering if in the next 39.5 minutes that Piffet will be able to get himself ever closer to that top 20.
I'm wondering if that last lap was his drive-through penalty time. Maybe. I'm not sure what was the last what was the lap time. Sorry.
There's a 2:42, so that would look like a drive-through penalty, because that's going to be 35. That's going to be about 30 plus seconds to do that drive-through penalty.
Yeah, so that's maybe the lap he took to do the drive-through. So that may have be reflective of that time. So, but yeah, I mean, it's good to see that Piffet is now sort of getting up to a point where he's going to be battling for positions rather than just unlapping himself.
Yeah, which will, I think, probably that's what's spurring him on. With one of the most exciting dynamic around the outsides at first corner at Suzuka 2 weeks ago, which I think it surprised the hell out of both me and Steve at the same time, and I was the one commentating on it when it happened. Walker's in the pits, DeLuca in the pits, so they are now serving their final mandatory pit stop. Looks like Shematinsky, currently 14th in the Griffax Engineering 81 Mercedes, now has served their final pit stop and will take the 81 Mercedes to the checkered flag. So it's going to be rather interesting, because the strategy calls now, it's anyone's guess who is really going to eke out that strategy as long as possible, Steve.
Yeah, definitely. And then with Walker pitting now and putting Haley back in the seat, Haley's got sort of 38 minutes to try and consolidate that 9th position, or potentially 8th position, as Aaron was in 8th earlier, and just see where they can come in the top 10. We know that when Pinchbeck in 7th, when he pits, he'll be staying in the car, because Regan Mitchell double stinted. So Pinch will be keen to come out and get that pit stop done and dusted, and try and maintain at least 7th place, if not maybe put John Clements in 6th under a little bit of pressure. We've got Ranjit Kelsey in 12th place. He's had a good race, but we know that when he pits, I believe Reece Wiggin will be back in the car, because I don't think those guys have been double stinting. So there'll be a few drivers changing, a few drivers not, but it'll be good to see all those green segments and just to get the race to the checkered flag.
Yeah, it looks like some drivers, I've just been having a look through the GT3 chatter. I think Piffet's also been having some problems as well through disconnects, but he's still, nevertheless, staying resilient and keeping going. As I think just saw the pit, Chris Bowman has actually pitted as well. So that has meant that the 212 PC Racing Honda NSX will now run to the checkered flag. So this is going to be rather interesting on the strategies that drivers will have to do. DeLuca in the 135. McLaren will go to the checkered flag after that pit stop. But again, those splash and dashes do sometimes crop up, don't they, Steve?
Yeah, very much so, and especially with we know John Munro, like we say, we've seen him in several driver swap races now where they potentially go long in one stint to allow them just to do a splash and dash, and albeit the splash and dash is negated a little bit because they've got to take tyres, so it's a 30-second pit stop. Whatever you do, it doesn't really matter. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see what it would mean is that in the last stint they'd be running a lot lighter than anybody else. So it'd be interesting to see.
Okay, looks like Burrows has pitted from P2 with just over 35 and 3/4 minutes to go. Munro has now pitted, so second and third in the pits for what looks to be the final time this race, and this will now really decide who is going to be the one that is going to try and go for the Giro that has really been the class of the field at the moment, as Shermatinski trying to go up the inside of Aaron Walker on that particular occasion, but Walker will have the inside run for the next corner, but Shermatinski powers around the outside of the Porsche. Nicely done by the 81.
Yeah, absolutely. He got the sort of run on Walker there, but I think also Walker is just trying to stay out of trouble, really, and he's just going to bring that into the pits to do a pit stop very shortly, I would imagine. In fact, I think he's just gone in now, and he'll be swapping over to Steve Haley.
Yeah, so...
yeah, he's in the pits.
Yeah, okay, so that is confirmed, and that drops them, that will probably drop them just outside of the top 15 as Gianluca De Luca and the team EOS Esport McLaren goes up the hill through Eau Rouge and into Badillon and then onto the Camel Straight, while meanwhile the leader now coming through the bus stop chicane. So Munro will, I think, hand over to McGregor. Kelsey is in the pits for the final time and will drop towards the bottom part of the top 15 as DeLuca now starting to battle away with Pope, and Pope has still got a pit stop to serve. So it's dependent on when she decides on what strategy herself and Evan Natafas have decided on. As Harry Gaylor in the number 53 Pulse Simsport B entry has now pitted from what was effectively, I think it was just outside of the top 5. Well, that was P8. But Shermatinski looking to charge forward here, Steve.
Yeah, Shermatinski's on a mission. He's attacking because he's gone from the sharp end of the field down to sort of mid-pack, and he's got the pace to try and battle his way back up. Has to be said, I think he's lost a lot of those positions through sort of mistakes, so he'll be looking to make good on what's gone wrong.
Okay, so Ross McGregor now takes over the wheel of the Simply Race Sancho Simsport Bentley, who have now completed the number 23, now having completed all their pit stops. The 185 Team Ford Zilla & Co entry with Jordan Burrows behind the wheel now has pitted for the third and final time in terms of a mandatory sense. So that bar will quickly fill up to green, but it just depends on who is going to edge out things, as Sedgley and Clements both now pit from third and fourth respectively. Shermatinski will now move up into the top 10.
He has a drive-through. Shermatinski has a drive-through.
Oh, track limits once again strikes.
So that's just, like I say, that's compounded his race now. He's had a few mistakes that have dropped him down the leaderboard, and that one's going to drop him a fair chunk further down as well. So really unlucky, and probably a race to forget for Shermatinski tonight, because he was well capable of a top 5 finish, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we had that moment for Shermatinski at the top of Radillon earlier on in the race, and that really, really didn't help at all, as Pinchbeck is now up into P3 as a result of Sedgley and Clements now pitting, but Pinchbeck still has to serve another pit stop, as does Rich Smith, as does, Parker's in, the leader in the pits on the nigh on the completion of lap number 50. So we've hit a half century here at Spa-Francorchamps with 31 minutes and 45 seconds on the clock still remaining. The temperatures have pretty much stayed level, as they have done all the way through this race, as we go with Chris Pinchbeck down into what is effectively double gauche. So a great job by both him and Regan Mitchell. Rhys Wiggin and Ranjiv Kalsi. Wiggin still behind the wheel of the number 71 Midlands Triple R Ferrari. So Shermatinsky will have to serve that pit stop in another couple of laps before a stop-go penalty will be applied, if memory serves me correctly, as looks like Bowman in the 212 has dropped out of the top 20 and has pitted for the final time in the 212 Honda NSX. So at the minute, Parker leads from Smith, Pinchbeck, Burrows, McGregor, Sedgley, Samol in the 37 Jaguar in 7th place ahead of Clements. Parker in the 76 Lexus has now decided to pit, and there is James Parker going in for his final pit stop off of the main pit lane that goes down the hill leading down towards Eau Rouge and Radion, as Rhys Wiggin is absolutely pedal to the metal going through Eau Rouge and Radion. Down the Kemmel Straights goes the turbocharged V8 powered GT3 car, trying to chase down one in front, and I think that is Steve Haley he's got in front of him.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're expecting Steve Haley, once the pits have all sort of shaken out, to be in the top 10. And what's more impressive than that is the pairing of Rhys Wiggin and Ranjiv Kalsi will also, if things play out, be in the top 10 as well. And a fantastic drive from those guys in the Ferrari tonight, because I think if you'd have asked them at the beginning of the race, are you on for a top 10, they would have probably both laughed at me and sort of said, well, maybe top 20 would do, top 15, but yeah, top 10 might have been above what they were expecting.
Yeah, so just been keeping an eye. Right, Shermatinsky is now serving the drive-through. Daniel Parker's in the pits. I've just been keeping an eye on some of the drivers. I'm actually going to do a little bit of reconnaissance here, thanks to our live timing on pitwall.live. And it's been rather interesting. Out of the top 3, Steve, the closest it looks like to the window, just keeping my eyes on with regards to what's happening, because we've got 29 minutes of this race still to go. Chris Pinchbeck has been in the car for 45 minutes, so that means that he will, well, 45 and a half minutes, so the number 43 very much safe. Regan Mitchell did put in quite a few laps, and he's put in I think it was 70. Yeah, it was close to 73 minutes behind the wheel, so they've timed it pretty well. Then also the 101 of Dean Riley and also Rich Smith. Simon Crane's Mercedes, that's looking rather battered at the front, isn't it?
That's looking modified, and it's not going to win any best turned out shows, that one, is it? It's
definitely going to have a lack of aero efficiency as well, doesn't it, by the look of things?
Yeah, absolutely, and it's another pairing really, car 52 of Crane. I would have expected them to finish a little bit higher up. They have got the speed, they have got the pace, but fortune's just not been with them tonight. I would have thought they would have been a top 10 finish for definite, but they were one of the crews that were unfortunate to be disqualified from the last round due to driver stint times. So James Parker retakes the lead as Rich Smith is currently in the pits, and I've just been having a look. Macaulay did 77 minutes in the car approximately, so James Parker has been in for well over 40 minutes so far. We're going to go to a replay, it looks like. This is through Eau Rouge and then into Radion. Oh, that's why Crane's front end was a bit mangled. The car went sideways coming up the hill. And the front end, the nose just absolutely planted into the barriers. And yeah, probably a mistake that Simon Crane didn't really want to have happen. Because when you're going through fully committed through Eau Rouge, you've got to keep it planted for Radion. And, you lift that little bit too much, it can step the back end out. Yeah, I mean, it's good to see that the steering wheel was still straight, because we see a lot of cars that crash at Radion, and it is more or less, it can be a race-ending crash with the steering wheels at sort of 90 degrees to where they should be, just to go straight. So hopefully he can carry on from that. I see he's in the pits. He's clearing that final pit stop. Whether he's going to take time to repair the damage or not, only he will know. Depends how bad it was.
Yeah, exactly. But the main thing is that at least he's able to keep on circulating. We have just over 26 minutes still to go of this race, and a great effort from Team Vodafone in the 101, which would have with the same livery the likes of Jamie Whincup and Craig Lowndes back in the older days of Triple Eight. Because you want to know how I can tell, you've got the Caltex logo on the front wings and also on the back quarters of this car, which raced at the Liqui Moly 12 Hours of Bathurst to great success in some respects. And it was, I think, the car that Jamie Whincup actually got his first ever taste of. No, it was the Maranello Motorsport Ferrari 488. But Team Vodafone, very, very well known in Australia supercars. Yeah, so we've just had Harry Gaylor actually just mention on the YouTube chat. So my teammates pedals, then my PC decides to change audio sources so I couldn't hear Discord, and then they couldn't hear me, so I had to get it working on my phone mid-stint. Awesome racing, thanks guys. Well, good to hear from you, Harry, and thank you very much for keeping us informed of what situations have been affecting both yourself. And we've also had an issue for Chris Pinchbeck. He lost connection during the pit stop. I mean, it's literally, we've also had more issues. I think that was also the 33s had a disconnect as well.
Yeah, it's not good when we get these disconnects. I mean, it's obviously out of our control. We're not quite sure sometimes what causes them, whether it's an error or whether it's just a glitch within the ACC software. But we know it's not perfect, but it's just one of the downsides of driver swap racing, where we do come across some of these issues sometimes. So we can see Pinchbeck is dropping down the order and still showing us in the pits. And I know Chris and Regan have worked really hard. Regan had a fantastic double stint at the start. Chris put in a good first stint there, and he was just looking to clear that pit stop and get out for his final stint. And he was in a sort of solid 7th place, but he's really dropping down the order now, which is really sad to see.
Yeah, number 33. That is the partnership of Cody Pride and Daniel Sedgley from EXR Esports, and they were running really high up the order as well. And I think Daniel's just said that Cody can't rejoin again, which is a real shame. But obviously, like Steve says, some of these things are beyond our control. Looks like Weller in the number 120 Aston Martin. He is now currently in 17th position. He's currently in the pits, and it looks like Samol coming out of the pits in the Jaguar, and that's the Exodus Racing Esports Jaguar GT3, coming out of the pits in what will be 6th position. So it looks like that Samol is coming out of the pits and will rejoin. So it's going to be quite interesting over the next 23 minutes or so, Steve, just who is going to put the absolute best effort they can. And I will be completely honest here, Jordan Burrows might have to watch his back bumper depending on how quickly Ross McGregor is going. And Ross McGregor, I think, has just done a 2:18 flat here at Spa. That's an impressively quick lap time. Parker's doing 2:17.4s. Burrows a 2:18.3. There is Ross McGregor.
He's going to have to go some though, Alex, because I know the last lap it was only it was a 2:18 dead, but Burrows did a 2:18.3, and McGregor needs to close up at least a second a lap to get anywhere near Burrows. So I don't think he's 19.5 seconds back. So it's a tall order. It's not impossible. Burrows, hopefully not, but if he made a mistake, it would make it more possible. But McGregor's really going to have to put some lap times in to close that down. I just think that's maybe one just slightly out of reach. But another, like you said, an impressive drive from car 101 of Smith and Riley. Those are two Simsport regulars, and both put a lot of laps in, both race with us week in, week out in all our other leagues as well. They're fantastic to see them getting some rewards for all the practice and time that they put in.
Yeah, looks like, well, Fabian Piffet from Team Fordzilla currently in the pits for the final pit stop for them. The number 66 now up into P21, having dropped all the way down after Charlie Croston's disconnect. Fabian Piffet's also suffered one as well.
Drive through for Parker.
Oh, that has changed things quite sporadically there. So that could mean now Burrows, he's about 30 seconds behind at the moment. So Parker will have to really watch his P's and Q's. I mean, this has really been the first time, because
the first chink in the armour, I think, is what we'll sooner say there, isn't it? It's the first mistake that's been made from this pairing of Macaulay and Parker, who we can't heap enough praise on because they are very, very consistent, very, very quick, and they can get the best out of that BMW. It seems at Suzuka and now at Spa, but it looks like there's been some track cuts and they've been awarded a drive-through. So let's just see what happens here, and it could potentially cost them the race, maybe.
I think the only other strategy that Parker's got to do is make it clean, but go as fast as humanly possible over the next 2 laps and then serve the drive-through. Then it's going to be nip and tuck how hard Burrows is going to be pushing. Because the first thing that Harry Spears is going to say to him, look, he's got a drive-through, go for it.
Absolutely.
Because now Burrows has got that chance. Parker did a 2 minute 17.9. Burrows a 2 minute 8. Well,
30 seconds. 30 seconds. Sorry to interrupt, Alex. He's 30 seconds behind. The pit stop's going to take around about. Well, sorry, the drive-through is going to take around about that 30 seconds. It's going to be close. It's going to be very close. And if I was Burrows, his teammate now in his Discord channel, I would be saying to him, Burrows, you're going to have to put the laps in, get the hammer down, just push, and hopefully he doesn't make a mistake. Maybe make a race out of this for the last sort of 20 minutes or so.
Well, John Monroe has just piped on and said that this could get interesting. Hey, no kidding, John. We're all here with bated breath, mate. So in the words of Bono, Lewis Hamilton's race engineer, well, considering that Burrows is in a Mercedes, come on, Jordan, it's hammer time.
Yeah, and as we said earlier, John, happy birthday, buddy, and congratulations on the 21st again.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was a stab in the dark. I haven't got a clue how old he is, to be honest.
Let me it's his race number. It's his race number. So happy 23rd, John. I just made myself and Steve feel very, very old at that particular moment in time, haven't I? And Mike.
I've stopped counting, mate. I've got too high.
Oh dear, thanks for that.
But yeah, just put back to business. I mean, this drive-through now is really going to put Parker and Macaulay under pressure. More so Parker, obviously, because we know he's taking that BMW to the checkered flag. But I think it's pressure that those guys can take. They've shown us that they can keep their cool. They can just put the lap times in. Might be a different story if Burrows does get past them while they're in the pits and they've got to battle him, because he's going to defend that position very hard. But I think if they manage to stay in the lead, Burrows is going to have his work cut out to get by them.
Okay. Just had a message saying Chris Pinchbeck wants to know if we can go to the end since he disconnected when the last mandatory stop ended. That's not a question for me to answer, I'm afraid. Steve, you might be a bit more worldly wise than that.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's down to the server, so it'll show that he hasn't had a pit stop, and it'll give them a penalty at the end automatically. It's nothing that we can sort out from where we are. I'm not on, I can't control the server from here, so and the server admin boys are racing, so unfortunately, probably not. It will just give them an automatic penalty. Yeah.
So. Right, I'm just keeping an eye on where the cars are out on the circuit, because now going through Bruxelles as Burrows is going down the Kemmel Straight. So this is going to get rather interesting. 17 minutes and 45 seconds. Piffet still rounding out the top 21. So drivers really going for it. Piffet being one of them, and he's been absolutely flying in that Mercedes, and currently at the moment he's It's going to be rather quick, but then it's about what's happening now.
What is interesting, Alex, is Parker's last lap was a 17.7. So Parker's put the hammer down to try and eke out that gap just that little bit bigger than 30 seconds, so that it allows him that extra second or two for the pit stop. So he's trying to make it as hard as possible for Burrows to jump him in the pits by putting in some exceptionally fast lap times. I mean, that was 0.8 faster than Burrows' lap, so he's certainly got the hammer down.
Oh, I just seen a message from John Monroe. We're beginning to run out of brakes. Right, Parker's in to serve the drive-through. Stopwatch, please, Mr. Proudley, because he's got there's 31.5 seconds. Burrows is now coming through on the far part of the circuit, and that is going to be through. He's going to be now heading towards Paul Frère and then into Blanchimont roundabout now. So Parker now coming towards the bottom part. So let's just see. This is going to be ultra close. Burrows now coming through the bus stop chicane.
He's going to do it. He's going to do it.
Yeah. Well, hang on. He's about to come to La Source. This is how close it's going to be, because now the race is on. Coach Dave Academy's James Parker is going to have to fight away with Jordan Burrows, because Burrows will be completely up to speed.
He's going to go past him now. You're going to see him go past him now down the pit lane. There you go.
Right,
Both
okay.
Camera shot there.
Lead has changed on lap number 57 with 15 minutes and 38 seconds still to go. Burrows now leads, as Parker will have, when he gets down to that pit lane, which is incredibly long. Look, McGregor is now going to have that chance to get past him as well. So this is where it's really going to change everything. Parker is going to have to absolutely nail it coming out of the pit lane. He's going to do so now. Here he comes as McGregor comes through Radillon onto the Kemmel Straight. So Parker has a bit of work to do. And Academy.
McGregor's going to have some work to do if Parker catches him. I think McGregor was looking at a crystal ball while Monroe was in the car at the last one, because I think, if I remember correctly, McGregor said P2, didn't he? Oh,
that could be a double-edged sword for the number 23 there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's no question about it. McGregor in that car is up to the task. Take nothing away from him. But Parker will be on a mission to rectify his own mistake now. He will want to get at least P2 back if he can. I think the lead's obviously going to be out of the question. He's got 14 minutes to go, and he's sort of 26 seconds off the lead, and he's got a car in between him and the lead as well. So he's going to get the hammer down and try and catch McGregor and make a race of it for second place. But let's see how defensive Mr. McGregor can be.
Well, 6.2 seconds separates second and third place at the moment, but the lead between Burrows and McGregor is going to be around about the 20-second mark, if memory serves me correctly. Rich Smith still in fourth. Roderick in the 118 PSR car, currently running out the top five ahead of Matt Kennedy, Johan Pedersen, Glenn Guest. Ivan Shematinsky has now recovered up to ninth ahead of Daniel Parker in the 76 Lexus. And it looks like Wood in the 120 has also got a drive through, so another driver falling foul of track limits.
And what is unfortunate, I mean, obviously just catching up with what John Monroe was saying in the chat earlier, he said they were managing brakes, and he's just sort of reiterating, we are managing the brakes now, so I think it's more about hanging on to third rather than fourth. Rather than second, he says. So, it's maybe they just won't have enough brake pads left to defend it. But as we can see, Parker coming round the final corner there through the chicane as Monroe's entering the first corner of La Source. So the gap is visible for Parker. He will see that Bentley, but unfortunately McGregor's having to manage the brakes, so it's going to be compromised with how hard he can defend.
Yeah, I think he might have to lift off and coast into the braking zones rather than hitting the anchors quite hard. The gap between McGregor and Parker at the moment here, Steve, is just under 6.8 seconds. And as McGregor was coming into the Kemmel Straight, Parker was actually on his way heading down towards Eau Rouge. So we know that BMW is quick in a straight line. The Bentley is also quick in a straight line, but it's just dependent on how hard Parker pushes. The gap looks to be slightly truncated, but not by much, by about 0.3 of a second after Eau Rouge, Radion, Lecombe, and now into Malmedy and Bruxelles. So we'll just keep an eye on how hard he decides to push.
Well, we know Parker is capable of the 2:17s with race pace. McGregor's last lap was a 2:18.8. So, potentially Parker's got a second in hand at the moment with what he can achieve in that Beamer. And we know that McGregor is, like we say, he is struggling with the brakes at the moment. So let's just see what goes on. And, third place will be a fantastic achievement for Munro and McGregor, but be nice to see them in second if they can hang on to it. But I think it's going to be a tall order.
I think one of the other things we've got to realise about this drive-through is the fact that in some respects, okay, James Parker has lost the lead. He's now chasing down Ross McGregor for second position. So by having that drive-through, there's been a little bit of unwanted, but possibly a bit of fuel conservation that's now going to help Parker absolutely push like crazy. He'll have that little bit of extra fuel at his disposal to go absolutely as quick as he dare at the limit of adhesion. And the gap is around about 6.5 seconds with 11 minutes and 10 seconds on the clock as Parker negotiates the bus stop chicane. And that's where it might filter in. McGregor struggling with brakes, Parker having a bit more fuel, and the gap now down to just 5.9 seconds. So that is 0.8 taken out on that lap alone, and Parker could be in the next, I think probably the next 6 laps, could have that opportunity of getting up close to McGregor, but he's got to wind that wick up to about a second a lap, and he could have maybe even more than that, depending on how hard he's going to push through Eau Rouge and Radion. Absolutely flies through the corners.
Interestingly, Parker is making up all that time in the last sector, in Sector 3. In this sector and the middle sector, they are pretty evenly matched. It was just through the last sector that he made all that time up on that lap. So let's see what happens.
Yeah, it looks like he made up 2.2 in Sector 1, but it was nearly 7/10 in Sector 2. So that's where, like you say, Steve, that's where all the times come from. And the gap now again is dropped down to 5.1. That's another 7/10, and he's not even hit the end of Sector 2 yet on lap number 59.
Yeah, he's pushing hard. Like I say, he's got the ambition, he's got the aggression, he's got the skill. Everything's balanced, and he's really poised to try and get that second place back. He needs to get that second place back just for his own peace of mind. As it's not to say that Parker got all the drive-through or the track limit warnings. It may be that Macaulay had some. It goes on the car, not the driver. So but he'll feel that he's had the drive-through. He'll want to make up for that discretion.
So we have just under 9.5 minutes remaining. Parker has the bit firmly between the teeth, and the gap now down to 4.6 seconds between him and Ross McGregor, as John Burrows will now go into lap number 60 here at Spa-Francorchamps. The Team Ford Ziller & Co 185 leading by over 21 seconds as Parker now firing that BMW, all cylinders well and truly fired up.
Parker won't be worrying too much about track cuts either, because obviously he's got the scoreboards being wiped clear as it were, and he starts from zero again. But John Munro in the chat is just saying bias all the way forward. Now the rear left is totally overheating, along with the brakes. So basically, they've lost the rear brakes, and they're braking on the front axle only now, pretty much.
Thank you to Charlie Crosland. I was just keeping my eyes on this. Keep your eyes on the battle for 20th position, because the 52 Mercedes of Pulse Simsport is being closed in on by Fabien Piffet, who is looking to get some points. I did say if Piffet was trying to close in, he was going to try and get towards the bottom part of the top 20. He's less than 4.6 seconds away. And Piffet has been absolutely flying. He's been putting in the 2:17.9s. Great job from Piffet. The best lap of that duo, I think, is from Charlie Crosland earlier on in the race, but Piffet has come alive in the last few moments as we go on board with James Parker. Just up ahead, you can see the Bentley of Ross McGregor. Gap now down to 3 seconds.
Yeah, it's a tall order. He's going to close it. I mean, obviously, as we always say, the fact that he's now very, very visible on the track, he's literally, you can see him on every section. That's going to drive Parker on. If he needed any more motivation, that's a little bit extra for him. And he's pushing, and we can see that his lap times are very good. He did a 17.7 on that last lap. And McGregor's was a 19.8, so McGregor is really struggling, and when you combine with the fact that he's really struggling and Parker's really pushing, I think this gap's going to be closed almost before the end of this lap nearly.
I think you're right there, Steve, because that Bentley is becoming a bit of a handful, and as John Munro said, the bias is all the way to the front of the car as Piffet. Now there is Dixon in the 52 just up ahead. They go through Eau Rouge and Radion. And Piffet will now get the drag going onto the Kemmel Straight. Team Fordzilla looking to go up into 20th position, which will be 5 points up. Over to the right-hand side goes Piffet, up the inside of Dixon, into the first part of Lecombe, and Fabien Piffet makes a clean overtake. Absolutely timed that from the minute they dropped into Eau Rouge and went up through Radion.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic, and great to see that they, even though they were 3 laps down, they rejoined right at the beginning of the race after that unfortunate disconnect, and both Crossland and Piffet battled hard and got that position, got into a point scoring position. But more importantly now, as we said, Parker is less than, a second and a half off the back of McGregor, going through Eau Rouge, down Radion and then Camel Straight. I think we're going to see Parker right behind that Bentley as they go into the braking zone for Lecombe.
Yes, through Radion comes James Parker and puts their pedal to the metal. They're going to be reaching speeds in excess of 160 miles an hour, and with the overspeed through the slipstream, Parker could be hitting nearly 170, but on this particular occasion he will think better of it because he was closing at a big rate of knots, but it will be towards the bottom part of the circuit, maybe through Blanchimont. I think will be the perfect opportunity for Parker to get his way past, but he might not even wait that long as they go through from Malmedy into Bruxelles and then into the left-hander that will bring them on to the run down to Double Gauche. Parker looking again to the inside of McGregor, but McGregor trying to keep that Bentley on the track as much as he can. But Parker looking towards the outside, and he's gone round the outside. He didn't even wait that long like I thought he might do, and decided, well, I've got the speed on him. I know that there's a potential issue, and he knew that with the closing speed that he had there, Steve, that it was only a matter of time before he put it round him.
Yeah, I think McGregor sort of pretty much gave him that position, to be fair, because he's managing something that's very difficult at the moment. The fact that he's virtually got no brakes, and he's got 4 minutes 50 seconds. He wants to bring that car home in 3rd place, so he literally doesn't want to be pushing and braking at the last possible minute. He's going to be modulating that brake pedal. He's going to be slowing it down a little bit earlier with the engine through the gears, and really trying to manage it home now and consolidate a 3rd place, because if the brakes do go on him at some of these faster corners, it could be game over very quickly, and 3rd place could become retirement very easily. So he didn't want to get involved in that battle, I don't think.
Yeah, so looks like Denise Pope has actually pitted. Did they under fuel on that? But yeah, John Munro, completely agree. It was a shame, but it was our fault for taking risks with the brake pads. Well, as they say, John, once bitten, twice shy. 3 minutes and 55 seconds still to go on lap number 62 here. As Roberto Santoro, partner of Marcus Hagel in the number 54 Porsche. They're currently in P13 at the moment, so a great job by them. They were running towards the bottom part of the top 25 at the initial phases, but both Marcus and Roberto have done a really, really good job this evening, haven't they?
Yeah, absolutely fantastic job. And as we've said with Haley and Walker, the Porsche isn't an easy car to drive around here. It's not benefited from the recent updates on ACC. It's not quite as competitive as some of the other cars around Spa, but doing a great job and bringing it home at the moment in 13th place, which is a good result for those guys. Well done, and it's been sort of consistently battling away throughout the race. We've seen that Porsche in quite a few scraps this evening.
Yes, indeed we have. And with just over 180 seconds remaining on the clock, just keeping an eye on where our leader is at the moment, thanks to our live timing, which also has an integrated track map at the moment. Just coming through Campos and Stavlo is our current leader. Jordan Burrows in the 185 Mercedes. And then we'll have the run through Paul Frère and then into Blanchiment. So a lot of hard work by all the drivers here this evening. Denise Pope currently 2.8 seconds behind Wood in the 120 Aston Martin. Rich Smith has been doing a fantastic job along with Dean Riley in that 101 Mercedes as they now make their way through the chicane. And who have you been rooting for as your driver of the day here this evening on the 2.5 hour Simsport Racing ACC GT3 Driver Swap race at the minute? As Rich Smith trying to keep that car on the black stuff. 2 minutes to go, and still Burrows is well and truly away from the rest of the field after that unfortunate drive-through penalty for Coach Dave Academy. But this really, Steve, spices up the championship heading into the next round at Mount Panorama.
Yeah, it throws it up in a little bit because it looked like Parker and McCauley were going to run away and make it 2 out of 2. But to be fair, a win and a second place isn't bad for them. They'll still be comfortably on top of the championship, but Mount Panorama could be a different sort of a game, as it were, altogether. It's obviously a fast track with the 2 very long straights, but that mountain section doesn't half bite. Regarding drivers of the day, it'd be nice to get the guys that are watching just to comment on the various social media that they're watching on YouTube and just let us know who you think, because I think it's a very difficult one to call this evening. There's been some good drives from quite a few drivers, and it's been especially good to see some of those lads that have had the early disconnects that rejoined and have carried on to the end. So yeah, I'm not quite sure who I would say was driver of the day, to be fair.
There's about 5 or 6 different pairings that I think will deserve it, really. It's just so difficult to call. But I think, if memory serves me correctly, that Jordan Burrows now, Steve, is on the final lap, the 63rd and final lap of this race, as he's now making his way through. There is Jordan Burrows. And it's been a really, really good performance from him and Harry Spears, with Spears breaking the back of the race through the first 2 stints as Burrows makes his way through Stavelot. Now we'll head into the run through Paul Frère and then into Blanchiment. So we are about to hit 0 on the timer well before the bus stop chicane, and it really has been a fantastic drive from these drivers, as now the timer strikes 0. The bus stop chicane for the 63rd and final time, and taking it to be 2 different winners from 2 different races. It is the pairing of Jordan Burrows and Harry Spears from Team Fordzilla & Co. in the 185 that takes the victory after 63 laps. And nevertheless, still a great performance. This will keep Coach Dave Academy in the top of the standings, as James Parker, despite a drive-through penalty, will bring the 888 BMW M6 GT3 across the line to take 2nd position. And despite all the trials and tribulations, including brake dramas in the latter stages of it, Ross McGregor brings across the line the Simply Race Zansho Simsport Bentley Continental GT3 across the line to complete the rostrum, as Rich Smith brings home the 101 Team Vodafone car. Great work from him and Dean Riley. And then also you've got, this is Jack Roderick in the PSR 118 Aston Martin Vantage GT3. A great job by both him and John Clements. Daniel Parker will round out the top 10 as Kennedy takes 6th for the 626 Nissan. Pedersen in the Jaguar, the 37, takes 7th ahead of Glenn Guest. Ivan Shematinsky recovers in the 81 Griphax Engineering Mercedes to take 9th, as Daniel Parker and Richard Pixley in the Lost Lexus Racing duo of the 76 will take 10th position. Gianluca De Luca will bring the 135 across the line for 15th in the McLaren ahead of Allen in the 21, as Stephen Haley brings across the Simply Race Porsche up into 11th position at the flag. Martin in 17th, Wood in 18th. Denise Pope rounds out the top 19, with Densham taking 22nd. Pinchbeck embroiled in this battle with Santoro, but obviously the disconnect issue that will cause a penalty post-race. But then Reese Wiggin will bring the Ferrari in the 71 Midlands Triple R, take 12th position at the flag here at Spa-Francorchamps. Brilliant job by them. But Jordan Burrows and Harry Spears really bring themselves into the into the fray, into the title fight as well. So yeah, there's so many comments coming in. I think this is John Monroe says BMW boys were sensational twice in a row now. Just the drive-through ruined them. Upshift Media, great job from Spears and Burrows. It looks like the Team Fordzilla & Co 185 seems to be the outstanding vote at the minute. Also Rich Smith and Dean Riley have got a big shout out as well. But P1 for Burrows and Spears, no mistakes. Shame for Macaulay and Parker.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic racing there tonight, and just some awesome performances. It just goes to show it's not all over. And when I mentioned 3/4 of the way through the race that potentially there was going to be some more drive-throughs to come, I did not expect it to be the leaders that were getting a drive-through, and that really, really shook up the finish of the race, and turned what had been into an exciting race anyway throughout the field into a really nail-biting finish there, as we saw them get passed by second place and third place. So Parker and Macaulay did a great job tonight, and it was just a shame about the drive-through.
Well, as they say, hell hath no fury like track limits being scorned or being abused, as we found out tonight here at Spa-Francorchamps. But I think it's now time to head down to the interview booth, Steve, as we've got some drivers to speak to.
Yeah, let's nip down there together and have a chat.
Good evening, John and Ross.
Evening, Steve.
Well done, boys. Fantastic performance as ever. We expect nothing less from you two. And the Bentley, let's not forget the Bentley, that has a big part to play. Great consistent driving. Real shame about the brake pads towards the end, but some absolutely fantastic consistent driving, some great lap times, just a generally good performance, and well done. How was it for you?
It was pretty good by and large. Just as you said, the last 17 minutes just started to notice like a big drop off in the braking, and it just there was not much braking at the end, and the rear tyre pressure started to creep up to the 29s. So I just had to manage it, and obviously P1 got their drive through, and when they came up behind us, there was no point in fighting that, because we had our own problems to kind of contend with. But yeah, we're pretty pleased. In practice we were kind of like second or third fastest car on sort of race times. So that's pretty much how it played out in the race. We were pretty consistent and not quite got the ultimate pace of the Mercedes or the BMW, but for the Bentley, I think we can give ourselves a good pat in the back after that. That was a decent performance.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think when Parker caught up with you, I sort of called it on the commentary that it looked very much like, I've got you thought to yourself, I've got enough to contend with here if you want, take this position more or less, and you couldn't really fight him, not if you've got the brake bias pushed all the way forward. All that's going to result in, I think, is a big accident, isn't it? And then, like you say, you would have lost not only the second place, but you potentially lost third place and maybe even DNF. So well done. But it's John, how was that for you, buddy?
Yeah, it was really
birthday boy indeed. Happy birthday, mate.
Yeah, thank you very much. You weren't far off with your guess of the age as well. It's pretty good. It was good. The first stint was a little bit frustrating because we put a lot of fuel in the car just trying to get off sequence with everyone. We thought we'll probably be in traffic, and it'd be good to kind of not, if we're going to be slow anyway, we probably could do running a bit longer. And to be fair, it kind of worked out like that, because we did struggle, I think, with the balance of the car in the first stint. I was nowhere near the pace I wanted to be, and I was stuck behind another Mercedes for most of it as well, which was frustrating because we were losing about 1.2 a lap whenever we were stuck there. But I think after my pit stop, Ross was phenomenal at the start of his stint. The car, obviously, the balance came back to us when the fuel was lower, and he was just able to start smashing in 17s. And then when I got in for my second one, it was like a totally different car as well, and I was able to also smash in 17s. So I think, as I was saying to Ross, third's probably the most we could possibly argue we deserved there, because the guys that came second, okay, maybe we might have beaten them if we had better brakes, but they dominated the race. And obviously at Spa, a drive-through penalty is going to absolutely kill you, and yes, it's obviously your job to try and avoid that, but at the end of the day it's still a shame, and they were phenomenal. So you can't really argue that we deserved any more than that, but I think third's a solid kind of payback for our efforts, especially since the problems we had at Suzuka.
Yeah, absolutely, and like I say, I think I've seen you racing now on the Simsport servers sort of quite a few times now, and you seem to always manage to put in those consistent times and do the job that you need to do. But what I will ask is, just going back to qualifying, is the Bentley quite a difficult car to qualify? Because it does seem to take a few laps to sort of get the car up to speed, if you like, and to settle into the groove on the racetrack. Is that fair to say, or is that is that not the case?
No, 100% correct. Yeah, it's a tricky car to qualify. It's not a fast car over one lap. I think that looking at the times when we were practicing, I was able to do just drop into the 16s on some quali laps, but the BMW and some of the other cars could do low 16s, so we were maybe about 8/10 to a second off in quali. But then when we were doing race runs at the same time as the BMW in practice, we were pretty much bang on the same pace. I was able to do, I think, 17.4. Ross was doing 17.4 as well, and that's pretty much the same pace as the BMW was doing, maybe a 17.3. But it was, I'd say that in race trim we're almost as quick as you are in quali trim, so it does make it tough. And I think going into each race, I pretty much double, what we aim to get in the race, I pretty much double that for qualifying. So if we're aiming for a podium, it's top 6 or top 8 in quali will be the target. And to be honest with you as well, the Bentley is probably a stupid choice for this championship, because we're kind of going to 4 tracks that we didn't really look at the calendar. We just went, we'll have a bit of fun, we'll go to the Bentley because we've done a bit of work on that and it's a bit easy. And in hindsight, we looked at all the tracks and it doesn't really suit any of them that well. The Merc would have been a much better choice, but the guys in the BMW have proven that even in not necessarily the best car, you can still get a good result. And I think that it's obviously a good compromise. So yeah, we're happy enough.
Yeah, it's good to get that variation on track as well, of all the different cars, and like you say, and like I think I commented it on the stream, we've even got a Jaguar out on the track, and sometimes this
doing well as well. Yeah, right top.
This style of racing, the endurance racing, with all the pit stops you've got to make, there's lots more room to make mistakes rather than just not being the fastest on the day. So if the faster cars do make mistakes, you've got the potential, if you're consistent, to bring it home in a reasonable position. But that's enough grilling from me. I'm sure Alex has got a question or two for you. If I can hand over to Alex.
Well, not really, chaps. Well, firstly, John, many happy returns, mate. Well done. But really good to see you guys sort of, strategy was really going to be a big call. And obviously with the bigger fuel tank, that helped you guys a little bit in terms of your strategy. But having that car on full front bias, Ross, it is never easy, especially when the brake pads are worn down to the quick, are they?
It's pretty challenging. By the end, I was just kind of lifting off well before the corner, just using the gears more than anything else. So it wasn't like too evil or anything like that, but you're like 4 seconds a lap slower. So luckily we had like 20-second gap behind us, so we just kind of cruised to the end. So it was pretty happy. I'm pretty happy. Well, actually, this the exact same problem happened to us in another series in the Bentley.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So we kind of knew already like what we had to do to manage the problem, and we did the best we could with that. So yeah, it worked out okay. So we're pretty happy.
Well, like they say, lightning does strike twice, and for you guys in the same car in 2 different championships. But nevertheless, a 3rd place finish will help bump you guys up from 9th in the standings, I think. So that will give you an extra 95 points. So well done this evening, guys, and we look forward to seeing you back in a couple of weeks at Mount Panorama.
Cheers, Alex.
Thanks, guys, and thanks, Mike, for the broadcast as well. It's superb as always.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.
Cheers, Steve.
So I think we've got Daniel Parker in the commentary booth now. Good evening, Daniel.
Good evening.
In your Lexus this evening, how was that for you, buddy? You seem to be putting some good moves on early on in the race.
It was actually a pretty good race to start with. It got a bit sketchy towards the end of the race because we later realised as brakes were starting to fail. We risked it and put pad set 1 on. So it was, for the last 45 minutes, was quite literally nursing the car around the track and trying not to get too many off-track court penalties, which I had 3 at the end, so just about got round.
Yeah, he did very well to manage that then, and going forward it'll be brake pad set 2 all the way, I would imagine.
We're thinking about it this time. Enough risking it this time, I think.
I was going to say, as we go on to Bathurst for the next round, there's obviously a couple of reasonably heavy braking points there, so you're going to need good brakes to see out the 2.5 hours of Bathurst. So yeah, I mean, just remind me, sorry, Daniel, what was your finishing position this evening?
We finished 10th, which
10th. So top 10. That's pretty damn good then. In this, when you consider the standard of the field.
Yeah, we qualified in 20th, so to get to 10th to us is for us is a podium. It's a lot higher than we was ever expecting to get.
And how does the Lexus compare to the Jaguar?
It's a lot better. It seems to turn a lot more. But it's got a place. Jag's got a place in his hearts, but we still love it to bits. But unfortunately, it wasn't competitive in the last season.
No, but fantastic racing tonight, mate, and well done on the top 10. That's an awesome result, like you say, from qualifying in 20th. Not sure if my co-commentator Alex has any questions for you.
Well, I do actually have one, Dan. Firstly, congratulations to you and Rich, doing a fantastic job. I think you guys were at one point, before your second or third pit stop, you guys were running P6 at one point. Yeah, 5th position at one point. But in terms of the characteristics, I mean, obviously, it's a very long car, the Lexus, but it seems to be rather suited to both you and Dan, obviously, with the fact that, okay, there is only one Jaguar XKRS in this series, but the Lexus seemed to have been the better choice for the pair of you in terms of complementing your driving styles, respectively.
Yeah, it's a relatively good car. Like the Jaguar, it is very quick in a straight line, so it's just a bit better around the corners, so we're not losing as much time, say at Spa in the second sector as we were doing the Jaguar from last season. So it just seems to work a lot better than we actually would have been in the Jaguar if we could take it.
Well done this evening, Dan, and also congratulations to Rich as well. Great effort here at Spa-Francorchamps.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, well done, Dan. Cheers.
I believe that concludes the interviews for this evening. Well, Alex, that's the interviews over with, and all that leaves us to do now is just round up the racing this evening. I think. Alex is back. Good evening, mate.
I had a bit of a brief blip. TeamSpeak decided to lock my microphone from unmuting itself. I don't know why. Does that on occasion, modern technology. But that was a pretty good race there, and the championship in ACC GT3 Driver Swap there, Steve, is well and truly alive, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Great racing, and it just sort of the drive-throughs and the brake pad issues just highlighted what a different discipline these longer races and driver swap races are, and it just leads to some fantastic racing. And we had Daniel Parker there at the last interview, qualifying in 20th and coming in 10th place. So absolutely fantastic racing from Daniel, and really well done to him.
Indeed, and a big thank you to you all for watching what has been the midway point of the ACC GT3 Driver Swap here live on Simsport Racing. In 2 weeks' time, we head to the mountain, Mount Panorama, the house of Peter Brock, Bathurst, on the 6th of December for round 3, and then round 4, the final round of this GT3 Driver Swap season, just bringing in ourselves nicely into Christmas. The 20th of December will see us head to Monza for the 4th and final round, but we don't forget to tune in at 8 p.m. this coming Wednesday, the 25th of November, as we head to the home of British Motorsport, Silverstone, for the 4th round out of 6 for ACC GT4 Season 3 with a top 15 reverse grid based on the results of the Nürburgring just this past Wednesday. And
if I can just say that, I just want to build that one up a little bit more, because the championship now at the GT4s is 4 or 5 drivers in contention at least for that championship. So yeah, it's well worth tuning in. If you're watching us on YouTube, please subscribe and click the notification bell, because you do not want to miss that one, because that championship is really hotting up now.
So on behalf of myself, Alex Goldschmidt and Steve Proudley, thank you very much to you all, wherever you've been tuning in from the world. Thank you for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy, and good night. We'll see you this coming Wednesday.